That's all I said.
It's a very similar age gap, almost the exact same relationship. I just why are you sitting here defending this?
This is the most out-of-pocket opening I've ever seen.
And you know what, Carson?
Place.
I'm gonna cut all of it out of spite.
Yeah,
no one will ever see this.
I was about to see the Trump one might be a good idea to cut. We don't want to. We don't want to get the wrong idea.
He's done a Trump impression before.
I have. Wait, I have.
Yes, you have.
I'm gonna. If you clip that out, cut to all the times I've done a Trump impression on the podcast.
Okay, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not gonna go through 67 freaking million episodes to find.
Did you say 67?
Anyways, it's been great to be on here, guys. I hope y'all are having a blessed week. I will not be back. He's coming to hunt me down.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the new co-host.
Yeah,
Brandon just retired.
It was easier than I thought. Let's just say that.
Oh my God, that's
Rage
funny.
baiting me is not difficult. I'll
I'm
admit.
aware.
No, it ain't. It ain't.
Okay, to kick us into the actual intro of this, I might leave that in, I might cut it out, we'll see, but...
No, you should.
I probably will.
Just let
Carson,
that be the entire opening.
That's actually the only thing we're doing this episode. It's a 4-minute episode, it's a nice little short, there's no big
nothing
thing.
else really came out this week.
Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
else happened. There was no news, there was no movies, TV, what was that? It's, but... For what we're actually here for, last weekend, unfortunately, with the way that we record these episodes, we're always late to all the news. But
yeah, I need my content, guys. Come on.
Yeah, that's what the escape pod is for. Okay, we're not the escape pod yet, so we can rage bait at Alex and Andrew later.
Close enough. I emulate like 30% of my personality from them.
Honestly, fair. But. San Diego Comic-Con was last weekend. Big news. Well, actually, I'll start this out, and I'm gonna kick it to both of y'all because I'm curious, and I'll give my thoughts. How do you feel about Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con this year? There was a lot of chatter, mainly because we really only got 2 things. And a lot of people were expecting X-Men, they were expecting a big Hall H, they were expecting the big lineup, and we got 2 projects. 2 projects I personally think most people should be excited about, one more than the other, but we'll get into that. But there was a lot of upset people. What are your 2 thoughts on that? I'm kind of curious.
So when you look at like how they're announcing everything, I wasn't surprised when they didn't announce X-Men, and the only reason, and without getting into spoilers for something, if a certain character has not been announced yet, they're probably not going to want to get into a panel discussion about certain characters being announced. You know, we'll get more into depth on that later a little bit, but I don't think they were going to announce the X-Men here. I think they were always planning to wait till like D23 to kind of like drop that lore on us, especially because at that point it's full steam ahead for Doomsday, the road to Doomsday. That's the only thing they have to focus on. They can throw more things at the wall that can like stick. So I wasn't exactly like surprised by it. I thought it was kind of honestly exactly what I thought they would give us. Talk mostly about Doomsday, a little bit here about Spider-Man, not so much. And then just like throw a few things here and there, but it was mostly a panel for Doomsday at the end of the day, and that was pretty much it. So
it was cool. It was cool what they did, but definitely like, cause like one of my main thoughts, like right after I saw the presentation, was that it was a lot smaller. And while I was kind of expecting the mutant announcement, at the same time I wasn't. Like I wasn't surprised that they didn't. But I'm still definitely happy with what they gave us. I really like the announcements they gave us, except for one I have my reservations on. But
and trust me, we'll get into that. But I think my 2 cents on this is I hoped for X-Men. I don't think I ever expected X-Men.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people... And we talk about this all the time on the podcast, where people go in with expectations that are never going to be met into movies, trailers, whatever. And so you're kind of doing yourself a disservice when, think back and I hate comparing these because I think the people that compare these are doing themselves a disservice as well, but go back to Endgame and Infinity War time. We did not know post-Infinity War, other than Endgame, what was really coming out. We knew about Spider-Man, we knew about No Way Home, and I think that was it. So for us to be going into the next big phase of the MCU, post-Doomsday, post-Secret Wars, I'm not super surprised that we didn't really get much. And admittedly, and we can even just start here, I think they revealed too much. So, the reason why I say that, Ghost Rider, super excited about. Really excited for that. Super, super hype. I have my problems with the Black Panther announcement because this is a deliberate recast. His name is fucking T'Challa. I hate that. Really? I genuinely, his Wakandan name is T'Challa, and I guarantee you that they did that because they knew people would be upset about it. And that's it. They gave him another name, but they still called him T'Challa. I don't like that. But my biggest problem with that announcement isn't that they recast him, is with the fact that, guys, he's 32 years old. I get it. Tom's old. He's like 30, and he's playing someone who's like in college and probably his mid to late 20s. You can play down. He was 7 years old in the first movie. That confirms we're getting the biggest time jump the MCU has ever seen between Secret Wars and Black Panther. I get that. Oh, I couldn't have expected they were going to jump fucking 15 years after the movie. That's my biggest problem, is that they're straight up showing, hey, we're like huge time jumping post this, which means all of our young Avengers are gone. If you're aging him up, you have to age everyone else up to make it make sense, unless there's some multiversal bullshit that they pull. So we're talking Kate Bishop, gone. Kamala Khan, gone. Like, what are they going to do? Are they all going to wait until they're in their 30s as well, or 20 years older? Like, that is my biggest problem with that Black Panther announcement, and me thinking they showed too much.
I could kind of get that. My problems aren't really with the Black Panther announcement. I think it's great. I love David Johnson.
I love David Johnson.
Yeah,
Long Walk's
exactly.
my favorite movie from last year.
I was about to say,
think
it's
he's
one of my favorites.
Incredible actor.
I mean, because my thoughts are, because obviously we were robbed. Chadwick Boseman, obviously great, fantastic actor, very, very tragic that he ended up passing away. This felt like the most respectful way that they could have recast him without taking like any, I don't know what the right word is, but any of that away from Chadwick and his legacy that he left behind. I think my main issue with it is it's a very, very quick turnaround from Shuri to him, and I'm wondering how they're going to handle that. I think there's a good way to do it, because I don't think Shuri ever really wanted to do this in context of the MCU. However, it did feel a little bit like that in credit scene. Oh, I'm immediately going to have to step down because there's a new T'Challa that I didn't know about until now.
I mean, I'm not going to judge the timeline yet, because obviously we haven't even seen anything. We've just heard, oh, he's playing an older version of the kid who was once 7 years old. You know, technically 4 years ago, mind you. That movie was 4 years ago. Just want to point that out. Not saying that that's like a, great.
I mean, you're going from
you're
7
going...
years old to what, 11 years old at that point, and then you're still jumping at least for it to make sense, 10 years, a decade of time,
10 plus years.
No offense to Michael John, he cannot play a teenager. He looks great for being in his 30s. If you put him on screen and say he's 15 years old, I'm gonna hate that. I'm gonna call it some bullshit.
No, you're not wrong, but it's also like describing the merits of it. We don't know to what capacity they're doing this. It might not even be a time jump. It could be something to do with Battle World and Secret Wars that causes the aging for some people, but maybe not for everybody. There is the idea that maybe like the people who we want our young Avengers, they'll be on Battle World, and so they don't age, and so when realities reset and things happen, you have a bunch of things that are different and changed. But if they want to keep certain people younger and the same age, great, you can. I don't think that I'm just spitballing, because I just can't really complain until I see it. You know what I mean?
I get
I'm not
that,
going
but like
to.
unless they fundamentally change Battleworld, because Battleworld is literally Doom taking the shattered universe from the incursions and basically picking and choosing the elements that he wants and putting it into one world. We're not talking some like alternate multiverse where Doom just like de-ages and like that's not, it's literally him just taking all of the characters that he wants from a shattered multiverse and kind of shoving them into one world. Everyone except for like Reed and like one or two other people completely forget. They only know Battleworld. They like completely forget all of the rest of existence or that it ever happened. And so if they were like made some changes or like, oh, we're aging some people, we're not aging some people are in Battleworld, some people, at that point that just feels like the snap. If you're doing the whole thing where it's like, oh, you were either on Battleworld or you weren't, you aged up, if you're like, that's just the Snap 2.0, if you think about it, where you literally have people age 3 years, people not age 3 years. Don't do that, one, because that's not how Battleworld works, and two, you already did that.
Correct, but can you honestly say that the entirety of Doomsday, for what we've seen so far and what predictions we have for this film, isn't in some ways very much like Infinity War? We have a reason and a motive for everybody to come back together. Great. We have a threat of a guy who's, again, I'm spitballing because we don't even know the plot yet, but we have a threat of a guy who's seeking after Loki, seeking after the timeline, seeking after taking control of the multiverse. That's his Infinity Stones. He rewrites reality with that to create Battleworld, to do this, to do that, to orchestrate everything. If that's what he's seeking after, then that is exactly, that's the Infinity Stones of this franchise. This film could play out exactly the same way that Infinity War does. Something tragic happens in the beginning. They do this, they do that. He gets the timeline at the very end. He rewrites reality
again.
Hulk, oh god, no.
I heard that leak, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Doctor Doom solos Hulk and shoves him back, and then we get another decade of Smart Hulk.
At that point, just rip his spine out and put us out of the misery of Mark Ruffalo's
Yeah.
Hulk, because he's been through so much. So I don't know. When it comes to the casting for David Johnson, I liked him in Alien Romulus. I liked him in Long Walk. I think he's a great actor. He's going to bring something great to the role. I think until we really see something, I'm not going to judge it.
I think it's just kind of a let him cook kind of situation with this entire thing, because there's so much that we just don't know right now.
It is. And look, I don't want to rip the Escape Pod because I like to have my own thoughts.
Because you
but
emulate 30% of your personality from them, same as me. I get it.
No. no, but Alex has my favorite opinion on this subject because he's very anti them recasting. But if you ever actually like listen to his thoughts on why he is against it, it's not because he hates the idea of recasting Chadwick Boseman. I also don't have he passed away, his family gave permission. I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's a tragedy what happened, but that's not, I mean, it's not Marvel's fault. They need to continue on. The entire world doesn't revolve around him. He was a phenomenal actor and he will be forever loved and remembered. It's the high horse that Marvel got on for the entire marketing campaign saying, we are not recasting him. We are not recasting him. We are not recasting him. That, like, literally, they were asked that every interview, and their answer was, we are not recasting him. We want to, like, we'll move on to a different Black Panther. And a lot of people are going to argue that this is just moving on to a different Black Panther. Like, technically, they're not
With
being like, this is Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. I understand that. Why name him T'Challa? Why name him T'Challa? Oh, his real name isn't... He's going to be referred to as T'Challa. That's his Wakandan name. They already have referred to him literally in the... Like, he's T'Challa.
The new Black Panther.
Not only T'Challa, but the new Black Panther. Which, again, I actually fully agree with you on that, Michael. Literally, Shuri was announced as Black Panther. Like, that was carrying on the legacy. She did both films with him. She, again, no offense to Michael Johnson, she was the perfect person to step into that role and continue carrying it forward. And then they're doing this, and it feels so difficult because I think he's going to do a phenomenal job. But Marvel kind of fucked up on the way that they handled this situation. I personally cannot overlook that when it comes to this. I'm going to watch the movie and I'm probably going to love the movie, but there will still be that kind of tinge of like, you really, it's like the Blade situation. It's actually, I mean, it's not as bad as the Blade situation. We're not going to get too into that.
Don't
because,
start me on the Blade, bro.
Yeah, because
Blade's gone into the Gambit verse where his film's probably never going to release, and it
isn't.
like
he confirmed that he's moved on. Mahershala Ali said he is done. It's not happening officially.
He's using his sword training for another movie. Yeah,
with the same director, by the way. At least one of the directors that was like pinned to do it. It comes out, I think, literally next month or 2 months from now or something like that. It's Your Mother, Your Mother, Your Mother.
Something like that, yeah.
The movie's called Aid, and it's all about this vampire hunter named Aid who hunts down vampires. No correlation.
It is Mahershala Ali fighting people with swords, so yeah. But not to get into that. Off that kind of sour note, well, not sour. It's exciting for a new Black Panther movie. Ryan Johnson, or not? I don't know. So
Ryan Coogler will probably cook. Yeah,
Ryan Coogler will probably cook. I trust that, but the big news, the big one, guys, we're getting a fucking Ryan Gosling Ghost Rider.
God!
What are we doing here? Like we're getting a Ryan. He's been asking for this for like years at this point, and I love the way that they did the announcement. I think it was a phenomenal announcement. Like I don't know if either of you like actually like watched like the Instagram post of the announcement.
Yeah,
it was just such a phenomenal announcement. It's coming out in 2027, so they obviously haven't even started like filming yet. I think they said they have a script because I think, if I'm not mistaken, he went to Kevin with a script. Like he is a huge fan and went to Kevin with a finished script.
So the only fear that I'm gonna have with a Ghost Rider film, and I know it could be. This is very hypocritical because I love Deadpool and Wolverine. It is on my higher end of Marvel films. As much as I love Deadpool and Wolverine, it worries me that Sean Levy is directing.
Yes,
you and
this film.
Every human being on the goddamn internet.
Because it's just not a Sean Levy film. Like I just don't look at Ghost Rider and go, yes, that's a Sean Levy directed movie. I look at Deadpool and Wolverine and I go, okay, that kind of works because Sean Levy's kind of in Deadpool's style because he's also worked with Reynolds and this and that. That kind of makes sense, and I'm fine with it because I thought Sean Levy did a great job of that. I don't look at Ghost Rider and go, yes, that's absolutely who I would have pictured directing the film.
You know what I do look at to get a good tone for a Ghost Rider, and you know what he did work on? Some of the best episodes of Stranger Things.
True.
Sean Levy directed some of the best episodes of Stranger Things. I'm not saying I want the exact tone of Stranger Things, but that is way closer of a tone to what I want out of a Ghost Rider than a Deadpool and Wolverine. I agree with you. He did Free Guy. He did a lot of comedy movies, but people forget he worked on some of the best episodes of an incredible television show that has a more similar vibe to what I would look for out of a Ghost Rider than a Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah, that's his most recent film. That's his biggest, I think it is his biggest monetarily speaking.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, one, him working on Stranger Things is a similar vibe, and two, it also shows that he can handle different tones. And he can go from being a comedy Deadpool and Wolverine director and directing Stranger Things.
Because
that's why for me, I'm not that worried.
Because my immediate thought when I heard the announcement was, oh. And as I like kind of explained my thoughts to people, Sean Levy is just a very comedic director. That's his style. That's what he does. Because every movie you've ever heard about him is comedic. The only movie I can think of that I see on his like filmography here that's like not too comedic, that is pretty beloved, is Real Steel. And that's still kind of goofy. It's about robots and stuff. And that's probably one of his more serious movies he's made. I think he's a good director. I really like Deadpool Wolverine. I think Free Guy's alright. Adam Project I remember enjoying, and he directed a few of the Night at the Museums, which I remember growing up and really loving. But he's a very comedic director, and I don't see Ghost Rider as a very comedic character. So I just I need to see how it pans out. I need to see how he does it. And I'm sure he can, because they wouldn't have hired him otherwise. Kevin Feige knows what he's doing.
Well, in his film with his track history, like his just film record, most of his films have a tendency to not be as positive. It's usually more mid to bad. And that's even with somebody looking over his shoulder, kind of orchestrating it. Like, again, Stranger Things is probably the. I'm not going to include Deadpool and Wolverine because that monetarily did very well, and I think it was a success from just like a film standpoint. But I know I'm slowly being, my kind is kind of being thinned out a little bit. But Stranger Things was the only thing that he really did that really had like a good dramatic element and added like all the things that we want from a Ghost Rider movie. But even then, that wasn't fully him. That was the Duffer Brothers looking over his shoulder. Yes, he helped out with Stranger Things a lot, and he was there from the beginning to set it up and get it out there. But the Duffer Brothers were the heads of that. Just like Kevin Feige will be the head of the Ghost Rider project, like he was with Deadpool, Wolverine, and this and that. I'm just saying. I'm not going to harken on it too long because I'm repeating myself. It does worry me that Sean Levy is directing it, but I will let him take me on a journey if he can.
I mean, the thing is, though, is like, look at Ryan Gosling. What are some of his most recent roles? I know he is way more diverse with his projects than Sean Levy is, but his Project Hail Mary from earlier this year, very comedic moment. Yes, it has serious tones to it, but very comedic movie. The Barbie movie, very heavily comedic. A lot, like, I'm not saying all of his films, but, like, he is also, especially in recent years, a very comedic actor. And you also have to remember, the reason why he's doing Star Wars and he's doing Marvel is because in interviews he says that he wants to switch to doing movies that his kids can watch and enjoy. That automatically makes me think that the script that he brought them is going to be on the more like, this is not, we're not getting a rated R Ghost Rider movie. That's not in the cards. So inherently speaking, it's not going to be as dark and as gritty as anyone's wanting it to be. But that's also on Ryan Gosling, not just Sean Levy. And again, Ryan came to Sean and Kevin with the script. So obviously Sean and Kevin, like, they're going to be cooking in the kitchen and helping make changes and inform the direction. But, like, everyone who's going to place all the blame on Sean Levy here, I think that's kind of misplaced. Personally speaking, when I heard it was Sean Levy, I wasn't worried at all. I was like, he's a good director. I've enjoyed most of his films that he's made. Are they my favorite films of all time? No. But I still enjoy Free Guy, and I still enjoy Deadpool and Wolverine, and I still love Stranger Things, so... I love the Adam Project. I actually really enjoyed the Adam Project.
I can trust a comedic actor more than I can trust a comedic director because an actor can be steered more so than a director can. That's kind of my thoughts on it, and especially because Project Hail Mary is still my number one for the year, or maybe it'll be dethroned.
Well, and let's look at the two greatest examples in comedy actors who have done drama works that are incredible.
Nicolas Cage.
I was not going to say Nicolas Cage, but honestly, Nick Cage can go up there. Sure, I'm good with Nicolas Cage being on that list. Jim Carrey has given some of the greatest performing roles as a comedic actor turned to like some really dramatic, dark moments. Great job there. Robin Williams, Good Will Hunting, Dead Poet Society. Incredible films. He does great work in those. And, I'll even throw I'll throw a third one in there. I know it's a bit more stupid, but Adam Sandler, when he does have a serious role with a good script and good writing, he has done an incredible job bringing certain characters to life. Punch Drunk Love, Uncut Gems. I'll even throw in, it doesn't count as much, but I'll even throw in The Wedding Singer if you really want me to. Like, there are plenty of examples showing that comedic actors can do more serious roles. But kind of going off of what you already said, Brandon, if he's wanting this to be a kid's movie, he's not really going to go for a harder R approach. So here's what I would suggest if I was Marvel. Don't do the origin story. That's going to be the darkest part of Ghost Rider's character. There's a lot of dark things with that character, but if you're going to make a more family-friendly PG-13 version of it, then you got to get past that origin story. You got to have an already existed Ghost Rider, and you just got to, like, dance around a lot of the dark topics that come with that character. It will be messy. It won't be as good, but It'll work. Sure.
It wouldn't surprise me. They skip past origin stories all the time in the MCU because everyone grew up with the 2000s Ghost Rider movie. We all know what happens.
We've all watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season, I think, 5, right?
No, that's all you, man. Sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. That is on you.
I've seen
That's
clips.
actually that's my favorite on-screen Ghost Rider. I do genuinely believe that because that was Robbie Reyes. I think that was actually a really good adaptation of Ghost Rider.
No, I'd agree with you. But you're also the only person who didn't you finish Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
No, I have one season left because once they started getting into the timeline multiverse, weird destroyed planet stuff, I'll admit, even I struggled.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The thing that we're literally spending the entire rest of this MCU, you gave up on during the last season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You watched a show that is pretty much...
Don't worry, guys. Even I got confused. For smaller mortals like yourselves, I don't know how you can ever...
Who aren't... I'm very egotistical on this podcast. I believe I am better than everyone else.
I'm pissed off. To quote our comment section a lot of the time. I only finished one. I only have one season left of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. One left, and I quit after the multiversal bullshit. All of that. Get out of here.
Regardless, I am excited.
I'm very excited for this project.
My last thought kind of on it is we need to see Starfighter first, and I think if we walk away from Starfighter disappointed, that's going to be very, very worrying for Ghost Rider.
100% agree, because here's the thing. I expect Starfighter to be a completely different tone than Ghost Rider. I'm expecting it to be way more comedic. We already know his co-star is a child, so it's not gonna be an R Star Wars movie, not that we've ever gotten one before. But I do think it's going to lean a lot more into the comedy that Sean Levy is known for. I think it won't be a tell, in my opinion, for the tone of Ghost Rider, but it will be a tone of how well they work together. I mean, clearly they enjoyed working together because Starfighter has already finished filming. It's already in post-production. It comes out relatively early next year, if I'm not mistaken. So we already know that they enjoyed working together enough that they want to do a whole new film. But at the same time, there have been plenty of actor-director combos that have we enjoy working together, and then we watch the movie and we're like, I'm glad you had fun. I did not have fun with that. So,
and after the movie, they're gonna hate each other and they're gonna blast each other on the internet for the next 10 years. Yeah.
Are you talking about Ryan? Are you talking about Ryan Reynolds and everyone he's ever worked with?
Oh my God! Yeah. Maybe look at him a little bit of a different way, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not getting into that controversy.
I agree. Let's stay out of that can of worms.
Yeah, but I do think in terms of San Diego Comic-Con as a San Diego Comic-Con as a whole, I was happy with what we got. We got 2 announcements. We did get confirmation, and admittedly, I wish we didn't know this, but I always like not knowing what we do. We now know what I believe they announced it was about 7 minutes of extra footage at the Endgame re-release that comes out in September. It's going to be mainly Steve returning the Infinity Stones, and then at the end, it's going to tie into my assumption is all of the Loki stuff that we saw in the Doomsday trailer is not in Doomsday, it's in the Endgame re-release.
I could see that. I think
that
is
cool. My guess.
I kind of just want to see how Steve and Loki interact for the first time after Avengers, I guess.
Well, because Steve he would have no idea. He has no one, in fact, really knows. I mean, technically, Thor doesn't even fully know. He loves his brother, but no one knows what Loki did to save... Loki is the biggest hero in the multiverse. He literally saved multiverse, and nobody knows. Technically, I think, Kang knows, and he's dead now, so...
Well, yeah, but Kang doesn't matter. Kang's
exactly.
not a thing anymore, man.
So
don't worry, they'll recast his child here in, a few years. Get ready for that. Jonathan Majors 2.
But we got confirmation about that. We got confirmation on the fact that Reed and Doom are going to have a relationship, which I don't think was ever really in doubt. Like, I think that was just kind of like a...
It just kind of eased our minds a little bit on that.
I guess, for some people that are a little more worried. I know I'm not all that worried for this movie. I'm going to go in and have a blast either way, so... Well, I mean, unless it's absolute ass. But I think overall San Diego Comic-Con... pretty good. I enjoyed the announcements. There weren't many. In fact, there really weren't all that many other announcements other than Marvel that I think I really care about, which I think just generally San Diego Comic-Con this year, we had the full Lanterns trailer, even though they released 2-minute teasers before that.
Excited for that, by the way. Can't wait. I think it's going to be good.
I am as well. I am excited. I will say that I haven't seen this most recent trailer. I'm avoiding it. But the second teaser that they did was way better than that first one.
The trailer they released was much better than the first trailer, and I really think it's going to be good. So
okay,
if it's not, I'm going to be sad because I think Green Lantern's cool, and I did not like the original movie that they made. I rewatched it the other night, and
I don't think anyone did. I don't think anyone did.
Ryan Reynolds.
We had that. We had the full Clayface trailer that dropped. I did watch that. Very excited for that. Other than that, though, like San Diego Comic-Con this year, very tame. Unless there's like things that I'm forgetting about. Very tame San Diego Comic-Con. But good San Diego Comic-Con.
It'll be crazy. It'll be crazy next year.
Yeah.
Either next year or the next after Doomsday and Secret Wars. We're gonna get some insane like balls to the wall announcements.
Yeah. But San Diego Comic-Con, good announcements. What was it? A day, 2 days later, Kevin Feige came and said, "Oh, that smile on your face." Because we announced Ghost Rider and Black Panther, and you're getting Doomsday, and you're starting to get really hyped for the Endgame re-release. Yeah, give me that smile. I'm not going to turn it into a frown. I'm going to rip it off your goddamn face and shove it up your asshole, because we're going to cancel Wonder Man Season 2 literally less than 6 months after they announced it.
Hold up, my tab went back over to Sean Levy. I'm so mad, dude.
It is like the highest or second highest rated Marvel show in Marvel's history, and what do they? Nope. Why? Like we didn't even get a reason. Not that there would be a good reason. The main chatter that I've heard on the internet is it's because why am I blanking on his name? Because he directed Brand New Day.
Destin Daniel Cretton.
He directed Wonder Man Season 1, and he was gonna direct Wonder Man Season 2, and then he's apparently doing another movie now, and he's gonna be too busy. Why is he gonna be too busy to direct a movie that he was already contracted to do? Like, why did you announce it if you... I went on a rant in Discord the other day, because
you do that quite a bit.
I do. I monologue, but
yes.
Why? I'm so sick and tired of this stupid ass, fuck ass mindset from these studios. In fact, this isn't the only marketing thing I'm gonna complain about this week. Funny enough,
it's literally. But they took the thing, shot themselves in the leg, and went, "Oh, I've been shot in the leg. What do I do? Save me!"
Exactly. It's like, oh no, our director, he can't direct. Why? He was already fucking contracted to do the goddamn TV show.
Oh no, our TV show didn't get any viewers. You didn't market it.
You literally said it was going to come out a week before it was supposed to come out. You changed the release date and didn't even release a trailer until like fucking 3 weeks before the show released. And then you're like, look, I hate current Marvel marketing cycles. I think Marvel is just dog shit at marketing because they either so unbelievably overmarket their shit that it's infuriating, or they so undermarket their shit that it's infuriating. Marvel needs a new goddamn marketing team, and also just new brains, because I get that this wasn't the most it wasn't any She-Hulk, but it wasn't like the most popular show that Marvel's ever had. It wasn't a Loki season 2. But it was still one of, if not your highest rated. Everyone who watched it loved it. Your actors loved doing it. Your directors loved doing it. You fucking announced it.
Right after you saw how much people liked it, yeah.
And then you just... What are we doing here? Like dead ass. What are we doing here? And it's the fact that like this and the Blade stuff that we will avoid came out less than a week apart. It was literally like sandwiched between San Diego Comic-Con. It's like Blade's never happening, Wonder Man Season 2's never happening, San Diego Comic-Con.
But don't worry, you get Ghost Rider.
Yeah. And I think that's another reason why people were lower on San Diego Comic-Con this year, is because we got 2 projects, but if you think about it, we got net 0 projects, because they canceled Blade, they canceled Wonder Man, and then they gave us Ghost Rider and Black Panther. So we're at a net gain of 0 projects from Marvel right now.
I've been trying to sit silent this whole time because I didn't really want to say anything. Because for our viewers, incoming warning of just anger and frustration from probably both people here. I'm so glad that it's canceled, and I'm so glad that it's not happening.
Why?
Hey Carson,
I need to know why.
I'm gonna need you to hang up. I need you to click that hang up button right now.
So
You're never.
I'm the new second host of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah.
I loved season 1. I did. But I even remember telling you this after, Brandon. I didn't want a season 2 because I thought season 1 was so close to perfect, and I thought they did everything so right that I couldn't see where they were going, what direction they were taking it, and I actually despised that final scene for that reason, because I thought they could have left that story in a perfect pinpoint spot, and we don't even really have to touch it again. And I was so worried when they announced the season 2, because I knew it would never be able to live up to what it was and what it started as. So when they canceled it, honestly, I was happy. I was elated that it was canceled. You can have Wonder Man come back in some way. You can have Trevor Slattery come back in some way in a fun little thing. Leave that show out of the grand scheme of the MCU, because it's so offset away from the MCU and so different from anything and very much just non-superhero related that I want it to be its own thing. I don't want a second season of a show that will probably connect to the grand scheme of this whole MCU, because I like where it is. I liked what it was. Let it end and let it be something that's really good and a very positive. I didn't want to even take the chance of them ruining it. That when they said they canceled it, I was excited. I think, before you even get upset, that has to at least be fair.
It's not.
I can see that. I will agree and disagree with you here. I see where you're coming from, and I kind of agree with you. I don't want them ruining this, but it comes with the connotation that we will never see these characters again, and that's not something I want.
Fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, I could not disagree with you more.
That made me like Trevor Slattery. I didn't like him in Iron Man 3, and I didn't like him in Shang-Chi. I think it was one of the weakest parts of Shang-Chi, and I love Shang-Chi.
My thing is, hate me if you want, internet, I don't care. I'm tired of the MCU being the way that it is. I loved the early MCU. I loved the connected disconnectedness of the early MCU and the way that everything, like, the people who complain about the connectedness and everything tying together have never read a goddamn comic book in their life. The MCU at this point feels so discombobulated. Project happens over here, project happens over here, project happens over here, project happens over here. That's fine if these projects in the MCU aren't happening in the same universe. If you're having, for instance, the DC, where you have the Batman, we're going to have the DC's Batman, you have Penguin, who's like, that's fine if you're doing like a Marvel does have that, but only in their animated projects, really, like your What If, your Marvel Zombies, things like that. Everything else happens in the same universe. And the fact that people complained about the Eternals' hand, and I'm not saying Wonder Man had anything like the Eternals' hand, but like people complained for years about the Eternals' hand not coming back ever because it makes the world not feel like a real connected world. That's the point that I'm getting at, where we're so disconnected and things are happening so solo of each other that it doesn't feel like Marvel. It feels like just movies happening. It feels like Spider-Man solo movie. And I get it. Some people want that, but that's not what Marvel in the comics and what the source material is. And that's not even what original MCU was. You can't even make the argument that it wasn't. A lot of things tied together, even if subtly. Yeah, you had your solo projects. Guardians didn't tie in as much to everything else for the first movie, or even really its second movie, but you still have a lot of connectedness throughout the MCU. We're losing that a lot, especially as you cancel projects and you, like, it, I hope that when they go into the X-Men and after Secret Wars, they'll be able to clean it up a little bit, but I love the movies that they've been releasing. I hate the way the MCU feels as of recent, and this is kind of a big tell of that.
I can see that.
And also, like, Carson, you have to agree on this. I know you're delusional in your thinkings, and I know you're wrong, but you at least have to agree on this. Don't announce a fucking show just to cancel it. That you have to agree on that.
It was only 4 months. They could have just held
you could have just
and we
not announced it.
None of us would be mad right now, except like, oh, I wish we got season 2 kind of a thing. Nobody would be this mad.
I'm pissed off about a cancellation that I never knew was gonna happen in the first place.
I just want you to know the way you set that up, Brandon, was very one-sided, because it was very Rick and Morty of you. Look, man, I'm willing to admit that you're doing this if you're willing to admit that you need to stop. I'm like, bruh. Like, come on, man.
No, but, like, don't announce... I mean, it's the same with the Blade thing. They're announcing shit. I mean, and look, I think James Gunn has a way bigger problem with this. How many movies from James Gunn's original announcement of the DCU has happened? Or projects in general? 3. We were supposed to get, like, not only we were supposed to get, like, 5 or 6 by now, but also over 90% of the things that James Gunn announced clearly are never gonna... We're not getting the Amanda Waller TV show. We're not getting the fucking Justice whatever, like, the one that isn't the Justice League, but that's, like, the one that's no one's ever heard of, like, the group. Like, we're not getting any of that stuff. That's not happening anymore. Why even announce it in the first place? Marvel is doing the same thing now. We're clearly not getting Blade. We're clearly not getting... Why am I going to trust... Why am I supposed to trust that Ghost Rider's going to happen anymore? Oh, they announced it. Ryan Gosling's attached. Mahershala Ali won a fucking Oscar right before he was announced as Blade, and they canceled on him. Why am I supposed to trust literally anything Marvel does ever again?
Yeah.
Close enough. Welcome back, Channing Tatum's Gambit.
All right, guys, now we're announcing a new Gambit movie.
I just, like... I get it. It's only 2 projects, but it's still 2 major projects that you fully announced, fully had directors, fully had, like, everything.
That just never happened.
And you just pull the rug. Okay, is Black Panther 3 gonna happen? Is Ghost Rider gonna happen? Is this X-Men movie gonna happen? Why am I gonna trust Marvel? Yeah, they had a really good track history, but their recent actions, when it comes to project consistency, it's not there. I get it. You don't want a Wonder Man Season 2. That's fine. You can be wrong, but...
Well, dude, I didn't say anything. I'm nodding.
Yeah, Neil, when you talk to me, boy, you don't talk about my Wonder Man like that.
Neil, you peasant. Neil.
Kneel before me.
Kiss my sandals. Anyway. So, the exciting news, that was last week, that now we have to talk about this week.
Exciting news. I hope I never speak to you again after this. I'm being so honest.
Yeah. Look,
Your takes, oh boy.
I knew you were high, I think you were actually higher on Wonder Man, but, like, did not want a season 2. Like, I loved Wonder Man, but I think you were, like, even higher, especially, like, being an actor yourself. You obviously had a lot more of a connection to the story. But, like, I'll say this, and this is where we'll leave this conversation before we kick into all the shit we have to talk about. I do understand.
Spider-Man.
Disgusting. I do understand where you're coming from in the sense of a fear of them ruining a really good television show. I do understand that. I was not happy when they announced this cancellation. One, because I did want to see these characters again, and I do think they could have done something interesting. Hell, you can say the same, like, Night of the Seven Kingdoms. I get that it's based off a book and this is a weird argument, but, like, Night of the Seven Kingdoms ended conclusively enough that you could have ended the story there, but with them going off the trail together in order to go on more adventures that we might never see. You could make the same argument with Wonder Man. They went off and they could end it there and it could be fine, or we could tell more stories and we could continue on with them as long as it's worth our time. And it's the fact that we didn't even get to see if it was worth our time. We didn't even get to, like, nothing. We just, that decision, like, that was removed from us when it was promised to us.
Look, man, you're also comparing one of the greatest television series franchises of all time, even though it also is the worst ending to any franchise of all time. I don't think is anybody, like, going to argue on the fact that...
in my opinion, by the way. Sorry. I will never watch this show again after. Continue. I had to get my opinion in there somehow.
No, I'm done. Brandon, do your thing. Nope, I'm done.
Rage bait.
Well, lucky
I'm
enough,
done.
that's our first conversation as we kick into the actual intro for this episode, because what's
Almost
up,
an hour
Nimrod?
in.
Shut the fuck up. This episode is chaos.
This is gonna be fun.
This is cursed. This is
well-
a prelude for what Doomsday is going to look like, and I've already seen it, and it looks like a 5-hour podcast in our future.
The entire day, yeah.
Especially since we have to watch both of those movies back to back and then immediately come back to my apartment and record. That's gonna be, but that's later on. We have to talk about this week because what's up, Nimrods? It's your boys back with another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite Nimrods, sometimes three, talk about all things nerdy. I am your host for today's episode, Brandon, aka Parafish, here with my forever co-host
Carson, a.k.a. Juggernaut.
And I know we're 45, almost 50 minutes into this episode, depending on how much of that intro I cut. So you already know we have a special guest this episode, but we do have a third person this episode that I will let introduce himself.
I am Michael. I am Smike. I do movie reviews and stuff, and I am so excited to be on here and rage bait these guys with my awful takes. Honorary Nimrod, I take my crown. Yay.
Where's the alcohol?
Jarvis, more alcohol.
Jarvis, prepare the alcohol.
Hold up. I got you. Ready?
Oh my god.
The pearly gates.
And
That's not
this
even
is why-
alcohol.
I don't drink. I'm on a college campus right now. I can't do that.
Fair enough. But on this week's episode, we have 3 projects to talk about. We have House of the Dragon as always, we have X-Men 97 as always, and our third project. I think all 3 of our probably most anticipated movie, at least for the rest of the year. I was more anticipated this than Doomsday and Dune combined, probably. We have fucking Spider-Man Brand New Day. Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. We'll go ahead and give this now. As always, big spoiler warning. There will be timestamps in the description to jump around. If you have not seen the most recent episode of House of the Dragon, if you have not seen the most recent episode of X-Men 97, if you have not seen the most recent Spider-Man movie, skip around. We will keep the spoilers contained to their sections, but we don't give non-spoiler thoughts here. The second we jump into a property, and you will be warned when we jump into it, we will get straight into spoilers, so be warned. That is your one and only spoiler warning. Before we get into this, I know we've already been bantering. How's everyone doing on this fine morning?
Twas the day merely hours before WWE SummerSlam. Tonight at 7. I'm excited. I got a party I'm going to. It's gonna be great. Gonna watch a bunch of sweaty dudes beat each other up for money. It's great.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd be into that. You seem like the type of person.
All right. All right.
With every negative connotation that I can summon around that statement.
I'm just glad that I'm not the only. I don't have to be the person getting bullied this week. Now both of us can be bullied. Because typically it's Carson bullying me, and now it's both of us getting bullied.
I won't apologize for bullying you, but I will say it's unfair that I'm getting bullied.
No, it's perfectly
Unfair.
fair. You have some garbage takes, by the way.
My least favorite take, and it is the one major running joke on this podcast. I bring it up, he brings it up, like, at least once a month it gets brought up. His Tron Ares take is one of the worst things I've ever heard in my
Tron
life.
Ares take?
I didn't like Tron
No,
Ares,
no, no, no.
but I...
No. It's not the fact that you didn't like Tron Ares. Tron Ares is a fine movie, but if you don't,
bad. That was the movie I saw on my birthday. It was so bad.
if you do not like it, that's fine. That's not my problem. It is legitimately the hardest I've ever raged on this podcast. I still get pissed off about this. It's the fact that he complained about the use of CGI in Tron.
What do you?
In Tron.
It wasn't the fact that they used
I feel like,
it was the fact
this is
that they
taken
were...
out of context. What did you mean
No,
by that?
no, it really wasn't.
I meant that the CGI looked awful in the year of our Lord 2026 whenever we
That's
had...
not what you said.
So...
You are revisionist history here to make yourself sound better, and the fact that you're smirking tells me you know it. If you go back to our Tron Ares review, your
Victors, by the way.
your exact review was previous Tron movies used more practical effects, and so you wish that they overused CGI.
He's not even listening to you.
No, I know. But his whole argument...
What's up, Nimrods? I am your new second host. My name is Michael, also known as Mike. Great to be here. We don't know what happened to our other guy, but he kind of gave up, so...
that just proves that I'm right. And that is his worst take on this. I think my universally worst take is I did not like Toy Story 5 from earlier this year. I got quite a bit of hate on that.
I remember. Your opinion was garbage, yeah.
I stand by that take. It is a okay movie. But,
it's a great movie. I loved it. It's like my number 5 or 6 for the year, something like that.
To each their own. It's not even in my top 10. I don't even think it's in my top 20. But
you're pipe down when you talk to me, boy.
We're not sponsored by Mountain Dew hard liquor.
We're sponsored by Coke because Coke sponsors everybody at this
We're
point.
We're sponsored by One Piece.
I'm just kidding.
We're not sponsored by Coke.
We are not sponsored by Coke. I just want to get these guys in legal trouble.
Oh, by the way,
legally, it's one of the worst products I've ever had in my life.
Now they're never going to sponsor us.
Legally, I'm obligated to say this. Thank you, A24, for allowing us to come to an early screening.
They're like standing behind you right now. Thank you, A24, for...
Thank you, A24, for inviting me to this early access screener.
Of Spider-Man Brand New Day?
Of Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Whoa. I didn't know A24 got the rights. Sony gave them up that easy.
Oh my god, this has been in my fridge for far too long, and it's so, like, not good, but I need this. I see where this entire review is going, and I'm just going down this.
Oh boy.
We're an hour in already, and we haven't talked about a single property.
Yeah.
This is gonna be hell. But... Anyways... We're past all that. We're gonna go ahead. Order of operations here. We're gonna go Carson, Michael, and then myself for all of our reviews. As always, House of the Dragon X-Men 97, and then Spider-Man Brand New Day to cap us off. Without any further ado, Carson, if you want to go ahead and give your thoughts. This is episode 6 of season 3, if I'm not mistaken, or episode 6, right?
6.
Yeah, episode 6 of season 3 of House of the Dragon.
So last week I addressed about how I was like, oh, this upcoming episode, this next episode, that's going to be like a big breaking point, a big battle action episode. And I completely forgot about a thing in the books that happens before, like, some big action things happen.
Yapping.
And that might be the greatest thing that's happened in the history of the entirety of Game of Thrones. And that's the ambush and the death of Christian Cole. I'm so excited that I'm the one. Yeah, please clip that.
Your co-host
oh my god,
is tweaking, dude.
I must say, please clip that. Look, this is an episode that, you know, is starting to, like, kind of put the pieces together for where we're going for the rest of this season. It's showing us the trajectory of where we're heading, and based on where I know the book goes, as long as they don't deviate too much, because there have been deviations, but as long as they don't deviate too much, I know exactly where we're going to go with this story. But, I don't know, seeing some of the story elements this week come together, really well done. I think this is, with the exception of probably episodes 1 and 2, this is probably my favorite of the season so far. I think they've just done so much right with this episode. From character development, storylines, this, that, whatever. but obviously nothing beats that Christian Cole death. I mean, I texted Brandon immediately after watching that scene. I said, "My God, motherfucker, how am I supposed to wait a whole ass week to talk about this shit?" So no, I'm just beyond. I'm beyond just amazed at this episode. I think it's really good. It's a great another stepping stone leading into the last 2 episodes of the season. Just good jobs all around. And ding dong, the bitch is dead. Goodbye, Sir Christian Cole.
Yeah. I can't wait. I can't believe that I don't get to go first because I wanted to be the one to talk about that first. But don't worry, I still have things that I will be saying when I get into my review. Unfortunately, it's not my turn. Yay. I know you're newer to House of the Dragon, but I am curious. You can kind of give your thoughts on the episode, but like also if you want to give any thoughts on the series as a whole as well, like the floor is yours. So
Okay, let me start out by saying I have never been a Game of Thrones fan. I've never gotten into it. And it was the same with House of the Dragon. It was a very difficult show for me to get into. I did my best to get caught up on what I could. I am extremely confused and kind of just riding vibes, but me and my homies all hate Sir Christian Cole, so that appeased me enough for the episode. And then the rest of the episode is kind of just a lot of yapping. And also Damon, but Damon does stuff, so... I don't have too many thoughts on it, and for the purposes of not being a huge fan of this and wanting to be in good faith, I will mostly not talk too much because I'm not as well informed. See, I can pipe down when I know I don't know what I'm talking about. Brandon, God forbid. But it was a decent episode. It's just It's a Game of Thrones. It's very confusing, and as a new viewer, I am a little lost. And to be honest, I probably will never go back to this series after this.
Fair enough. I think it's definitely not a show for everyone. I mean, if you go back and watch our literal first episode where we talked about this series, I hated this show up until season 3. I mean, season 2, I started to come around to it. Like, I started to enjoy season 2, but, like, season 3 is really what worked for me. That's when things, like, stopped being just cousin and sister and brother fucking.
Dude, oh my God. I heard about the take that you complained about this, and then he was like, oh God, grow up, get over it. Nah, he's valid in that. This is disgusting, man. I don't know what to tell you. I see Damon and Rhaenyra getting it on, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah. Yeah. But all that being said, all that being said, my turn to give my thoughts. So what? This was episode 6. I get so lost on numbers for whatever reason, but
counting's hard. So I get it.
Yeah, I know.
Especially
I'm an
for people like yourself, yeah. I mean, that was every negative like tone I could possibly put at you.
Give me my 3 minutes, and then you can make fun of me all you want.
I apologize.
But this is House of the Dragon, Season 3, Episode 6 is one of the greatest episodes of television in human history. It has one of the greatest openings of human history, because Sir Christian Cole dying the way that he did, like a pussy that he is, I cheered. I stood up, and I gave a standing ovation. There's never been so much joy brought to my life than watching this piece of human garbage. Because here's my biggest fear, and I think we talked about this last week. I was legitimately afraid that even though we had the whole come down last episode where he kind of admits that his life is worthless and he's been used and he's kind of garbage, I was kind of worried that this episode, they were gonna either, 1, completely ignore him, or 2, that he was still going to die in a very cool way. And up until, like, building up to it, he grabs the sword, he's fighting, he has the ambush that he dominates. I'm like, okay, they're gonna give him a cool death. He's gonna die here most likely. I don't see him making any more episodes, but they're gonna give him a cool death. No. He looked a little cooler than I'd like him to, like him holding the sword like that, but him getting shot from the distance before he could even draw his sword to fight, legitimately, like not even joking, I really liked the way that that was done because of where they've gone with Christian Cole's character and the way that he's kind of been he literally last episode was like, I'm the greatest warrior in the lands, and then he dies like a nobody with a bunch of arrows to the chest and face. Actually, for a character perspective, very well done death. Everything else in this episode was also really good. I love the direction they're taking with the politics, because you have the assassins that are being sent to go after the new king. You have Daemon, who's going undercover. And I love the line of dialogue that he has with one of the guys. I don't think he was ever named, but he was heading the assassins that were taking on the Night's Watch, where he's like, we are not an organization. We are not like, we are the people. That whole, like, line of dialogue where he's like, you can't stop us, because it's the whole, like, generic thing of, like, you cut off one head and more appear, but it was done in a more interesting way, where it was like, hey, there are so many of us, and you will never know who we are, because we're the people that make your bread, we're the people that sharpen your swords, we're the people that shine your boots. You will never know where we are coming from, you will never know who we are, and we are gonna come for you. That, like, whole line of dialogue is so great as a deconstruction of what Daemon has been built up to be, which is this tactical genius who can never be outdone. He has outsmarted literally everyone in his path, but the second he's faced with, mind you, the common folk that he looks down upon so much, and they're the ones that are undoing him, I absolutely love all that stuff. The one complaint that I have, and this has been a complaint that I've been holding off on, but it very much is present in this episode, Rhaenyra is really useless. Rhaenyra this season, so useless. She is supposed to be the queen, and once she, like, that second episode, and especially that first episode, very Rhaenyra focused. Very, very Rhaenyra focused, stepping up to the crown, her son, like, all of these things. Ever since that, she's had her scenes, like, trying to be the leader, but admittedly, her screen time is, like, the lowest out of any character in the entire season so far, and I get that they might be building to something, and they're trying to show the stress of her stepping into the crown and what that means, but I wish we got more of it, because every time we see her on screen, it's one of two places. It's in the room with her staff, or whatever, and it's with Alicent. And that is legitimately it. And then most of the time in that room, she's talking with Daemon. So she's literally just talking to Daemon or talking to Alicent. And I just wish we got more from her. Because Alicent, she will be the next death that I celebrate. Because by golly, her entitlement this episode might have been at an all-time high. Her entitlement, I think Rhaenyra sending her off to kill her own son is probably the dumbest move in human history, but at the same time, her entitlement this entire episode just, like, infuriated me. She's like, but I done everything. You are also the cause of this entire fucking war because you wanted your son to be king? You did not mishear the king. You simply did not. You even admitted that you were wrong later on. You're just a fucking asshole. And so I love a lot of this episode, and I don't hate anything in this episode. I just want more of Rhaenyra not talking to Alicent and Daemon and actually doing something. But everything else I'm super high on.
I had a Leo DiCaprio pointing moment because the actress for Alicent is the same one that was in Ready Player One. Only other thing I know her from, and I watched it like right before I watched House of the Dragon. I was going, oh, it's her, it's her.
Yeah, no. Her actress is amazing. She does a phenomenal job.
Olivia Cook is very good.
Yeah, but at the same time, she's so entitled. Like, we can just start there. Alicent is so, like, we talk about this every episode. Why? Why do you believe you're owed anything? You started this, and you've let it continue. I get it. As a mom, you don't want to put your children in this position, but at the same time, that whole, like, line of dialogue that she had with her daughter this episode, where it's like her daughter, like, shit on her for, like, you wanted to kill my son, basically. Totally valid. Like,
Yeah, Alicent is
that's my next most anticipated death. Even not knowing how it happens, or even technically if it's happening, I can assume it is. The day she dies, I might cheer louder than Sir Christian Cole at this point.
Alicent's the one character in this show that I feel like everybody can just universally hate because of how much, like, chaos and just pure stupidity, in all honesty, you get from that character. It's pretty bad. She doesn't deserve anything. She did. I mean, obviously, her father was really the one who really orchestrated the whole takeover. obviously it was all built on a miscommunication and whatnot, and that was Allison's fault.
Miscommunication.
But her father was
I was gonna
the
say
one who,
miscommunication.
but like, yeah, I would say like you caused a lot of the damage. The fact that you're even alive right now that's what you've earned. That's what you've been given.
That's my biggest thing. Is Rhaenyra, if she was any, Aegon and Aemon would not be anywhere near as generous. Like, Rhaenyra is being way more... Now, I will say, again, the one non-generous thing she did was send Alicent to kill her own son. I think that was a terrible decision. Why would you ever even think that was a good idea? But, other than that, Rhaenyra is incompetent at times, yes, but at least she is a more benevolent leader than Aegon and Aemon would have been. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you can just, like, get whatever you want. Like, she needs to understand the position that she's in, and she just refuses to do so. She's like, oh, I gave you this, I gave you that, She never would have needed to be given that if you did not do anything that you did in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, none of that would have... Your sons would have lived happy lives as princes. They would have been very comfortable. Aegon didn't even want the fucking crown. He wants the crown more than he's had it now, but legitimately, the scene where he gets crowned, he gets ripped out of the church like a crying baby. And he says, I don't want to do it. Well, Aemon wanted it, but Aemon was never going to get it.
But that's what makes the show so interesting, and that's where the developments and the layers all come in, and that's what makes it a Game of Thrones show so special, is adding those types of elements, and then you look back on them later as oh shit, like this all could have been resolved because of this and that. That's how Game of Thrones starts. You know, spoilers for Game of Thrones if nobody's seen Game of Thrones, but really we're talking about House of the Dragon, so you would have seen Game of Thrones. Everything, if Joffrey had just let Ned Stark go, instead of taking his head there in King's Landing, would have set the show on a completely different course. Not saying that Joffrey would have been not, rebelled against, but he wouldn't have had the Starks at his throat. He wouldn't have had this, that. Sansa probably would have ended up marrying Joffrey. Like, the whole course of the show would have been different. That's what makes House of the Dragon so special in moments like this. I kind of want to touch on your one complaint of Rhaenyra quickly.
Okay.
Because how I view it is she was given the throne years ago, but she was never taught how to rule. She was never once taught. So she fought this war to get the throne. So I kind of like the fact that even though her screen time is like whatever and she's doing a lot of whatever, that whatever is the symptom of the fact that she was never taught how to do this. She was never present for any of this.
She was never supposed to be there, yeah.
She was never also supposed to be there. She was given this years ago. But she was never properly trained either. So I just find it very interesting that was your complaint of all things, because I actually see that as a very big positive. I understand. It's just how I look at it.
So here's the thing. Maybe I worded it a little wrong. I actually do agree with you. I agree that her not being a good leader makes sense because, she was never trained. She was named as heir, and then her father literally basically forgot about her. And that was like a whole contention with their relationship, was that like they basically like never interacted. She was never trained. She never had any of that. So her not knowing how to lead makes total sense. The only thing she knows is trying to emulate her father. My biggest complaint with that, though, and again, this is kind of the problem where you're focusing on 17 different plot lines all at once, is your main character, or one of like your three main characters for season 1 and season 2, you're like barely giving it. Like, House of the Dragon is about putting Rhaenyra on the throne, and the second they put Rhaenyra on the throne, she became a background character. That's my biggest complaint. I just want more of her trying to lead and trying to coordinate and all of that. I get that it would completely change the course of the story, but at the same time, it's like, we're focusing on this, we're focusing on that. Legitimately, I think you have 6 plot lines going on all at once right now, and you can only give so much time to each of them, especially when in this episode, every single one of those plot lines was in this episode. Sometimes they fully skip, like, Sir Christian Cole wasn't even in, like, 2 episodes this season, or maybe even 3 episodes this season. Like, sometimes they fully skip over. This episode and last episode had every single plot line they have going on in it have screen time.
Again, I know what's coming, so I will tell you there's a reason behind all of this. But until you see it, you're not really gonna like fully get it. If I had to guess based on the trajectory of where it's going, this thing won't even happen until the final episode, and it'll be like the last like ditch effort, like the last reveal before we wait another 2 years for another season. But yeah, so I mean, just basically be patient with it. You'll get there. But yeah.
No, I get it. I get it. Patience. And I mean, we literally talked about, not last episode, because we both really liked that episode, but the 2 episodes before that, so 3 and 4, we were a bit lower on because it didn't, like, it was kind of like the setup, not a lot of big things happening. At least big things are happening. Beyond the Sir Christian Cole stuff, you have the Assassins. You also have the freaking stuff with Sheep Stealer coming back, which admittedly I didn't think was gonna come back almost ever. So to get that again was kind of a surprise. You also have all the stuff with Damon, which is kind of taking over a lot of Rhaenyra's screen time, is the focus on Damon, mainly because, like, obviously he's the one that's investigating the Night Watch and trying to figure out what's going on and having all the problems. You also have Aemon this episode. Aemon, the whole dragon egg thing, that was the big reveal this episode, was the fact that the witch that we've seen from season 2 is protecting 5 dragon eggs that were left there like a century ago. That was like kind of crazy. And I guess maybe this is a spoiler. Are those the eggs from Game of Thrones, or are the eggs from Game of Thrones the eggs that we saw get sent off at the end of season 2?
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Fuck you.
Dude, I don't get many opportunities to do that to you, so I'm going to do that to you whenever I get a chance.
True. It is, I don't want to say more often the case that I know the source material and you don't, but this is definitely the case where you've seen Game of Thrones, I haven't. You've read House of the Dragon, you've read you know literally everything there is to know. I have seen Night of the Seven Kingdoms and House of the Dragon and 5 episodes of Game of Thrones. So, and I've read 0 of the books. So,
yeah.
That's the way to live personally, at least according to me.
yeah. Look, Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I know you're not super. Night of the Seven Kingdoms is absolutely worth watching. Absolutely worth watching. Even if you're not a Game of Thrones fan, it is so different than either of these shows. There's no incest plot lines. There's no
Thank God, dude.
I know, right?
That's no. Speaking of things, actually, because I want to touch on this because we're getting further into the season. We only have 2 episodes left. This is the first season of anything Game of Thrones related. I don't think we've had any nudity.
Thank God.
I know that's random.
No,
it's a
no,
random
you're
thing
right.
To include,
you're right.
But this is the first time
we've gotten
in
a lot
Game
of
history
shirtless
that we've
guys.
never had it.
We've gotten a lot of shirtless guys.
That doesn't count.
Aemon's been, I know, but Aemon's been shirtless every single time he's been on screen up until this episode, basically. So we've gotten a lot of shirtless Aemon. But no, you're right. I don't think we've gotten any nudity. We did get a very uncomfortable scene this episode, though. Why, Carson? Why? Why was that? Why? That might even be one of the. That is like legitimately. That is Rhaenyra and Daemon bad. That is Rhaenyra and Daemon bad. Might even be worse.
I mean, I don't think so, but it's bad.
Yeah, but
why
you
do
also
you
like
enjoy
incest.
watching
Like
this, bro?
Like I don't. I don't ever want to see your search history. That's all I'm saying. Like,
Well, I will also tell you right now, I'm currently drunk on Mountain Dew hard liquor, not sponsored by them. So I'm a little buzzed at the moment. So when I say that,
you said that when you were sober when we talked about the first episode. Don't try and BS your way out of this, dumbass.
Yeah, take it like a man.
Admit you're a weirdo little freak who gets off on watching uncles kiss their nieces who are like 20 years older than
What episode is this? Where are we going with this? Are we kidding?
You're the one that's defending it!
I'm not defending
yes, you are! Go back 2 seconds in this episode and you're like, I didn't think it was all that weird. What do you mean? It's an uncle who's like 20 years older than his niece making out with her.
I said it just wasn't as bad as Daemon and Rhaenyra. That's all I said.
It's a very similar age gap, almost the exact same relationship. I just why are you sitting here defending this?
I'm not defending anything. Oh my god. You infuriate me. I want you to understand. if you ever die, I'll say this for the police right now. If you are ever dead, it's because I murdered you and I made it look like a fucking accident. I just want you to understand that. I am not defending it. I am simply saying that I don't think it's as bad as Damon Rhaenyra. But that's also because we have more of a history with Damon and Rhaenyra, and you can really see how bad that is.
But again, it's a similar age. Okay, the only thing that's different, legitimately the only thing that's different, is that they don't share a mother. They share a father, they don't share a mother. So technically, they're half uncle and niece. Doesn't make it all that much better. Really doesn't in my eyes. Especially when her husband, they were married, right? Were they married?
Yes.
Yeah. Jace died.
No, I'm sorry. No. They weren't married. They were going to be married.
Okay, yeah. Which, mind you, they were also cousins, so weird. But they were engaged to be married, and then he died in real world time probably a week or two ago. And now she's making out with her half-uncle. Make that make sense to me. Why?
No, and I'm gonna add and put gas on the fire because.
Do I need to get up and dance again for another clip? Like I could do that.
Probably at this point because my thought was gonna be it's awful, but I liked the moment. I thought it worked.
I worry about you. I don't see how you like it.
You're a weirdo.
It's Game of Thrones.
Carson. Just because you like something doesn't mean you have to defend George R. R. Martin's creepy little fetishes.
That's
you
true.
Realize,
it's a very weird.
You realize he's not here. He's not gonna hurt you, Carson. He can't hurt you anymore, Carson.
Actually, I can see him in the background, like, holding a sword to his head right now.
Yeah, Carson, can you, like, pan the camera to make sure that you don't have, like, fucking HBO holding a gun to your head off screen or something like that, making you defend incest?
I would be less shocked about other things.
Because, Carson, I'd also like to point out, you just went on a whole, like, I just yelled at you, and your biggest defense was that you weren't defending it, and then immediately afterwards you go, I thought it was a really sweet scene. That's defending it! That is defending the scene!
Oh, fuck all you fucktards. I'm done.
Fine.
I've said my piece.
Maybe we can
move on from the incest.
Yeah.
We can move on from the incest, but I just... God.
So how about that Christian Cole death, Brandon?
Let's go. Talk about the Christian Cole death.
Dude, it's peak. I don't know what to tell you. It's
Me and
absolute
my homies
cinema.
all hit the absolute cinema pose.
True. No, but moving on, I think the big twist that we ended this episode off with was definitely, like... I love the politics of Game of Thrones. I think that is where it really shines and kind of all the secrets that are happening. But that twist at the end, like, it's so hard not to get pissed off every time someone outsmarts Rhaenyra. Like I'm sitting there rooting for her, and then every single turn someone outsmarts her, and now the goddamn sea serpent has been kidnapped as he's on his way marching to King's Landing to try and, like, shore up the guard. Like, that, I'm just sitting there, like... Can Rhaenyra ever catch a single break? Like, can you please, like, calm down? No, she clearly can't. But, like, that scene was like, God, seriously?
Well, and Corlys is, like... So, I will say this, if I remember correctly, people in the chat can, or on the TikTok or whatever, if this gets clipped, can correct me if I'm wrong. This is a deviation from the book. This wasn't there.
I have heard. I got this spoiled for me after I watched the episode. There are two deviations that happen. One, that whole thing with Corlys doesn't happen. Or at least he dies or something, or, like, it's different. It's not the same. And two, Rhaenyra does not send Alicent to go kill Aemon. That is a big deviation from what I've heard. So I am curious, and I know you're probably more curious than I am, knowing the source material, what that means. Because these aren't small changes. These are, like, fundamental direction changes, at least from what I've heard.
But I can see, without spoiling anything, I can see where they change it, but they can also kind of, like, put it back on track if they just want to try something different to surprise audiences. I can see where they go with that. But the Alicent thing's a deviation, and then Corlys getting captured is a deviation. So I don't know what they're doing with Korra's character. I don't know what's going to happen between now and the rest of the show. So it'll just be interesting to find out and see. But, you know.
Yeah, no, but that twist was like, come on, guys, can Rhaenyra catch a break, like, at all? I will say...
Can she please, for the love of God, catch a break?
I will say, though, the stuff with the High Towers was also really good this episode. I really liked everything that happened with the High Towers because, God, I was so, like, I just like to see, because are they brothers or cousins? I think he said cousin, right?
They were roommates.
And they were roommates. I love how, like, polar opposite they are. One is, like, so gung-ho, he wants to sit on the throne, he's only bringing up Alicent's child, whose name I always forget, to sit on the throne so that he can pull the strings. Like, he wants the High Towers to be in power, which is why he's raising him as a High Tower. But I love that he kind of gets called out on that, where it's like, you don't give a shit, you don't care. This is like, you have to admit, like, you are here for selfish reasons. That whole, like, everything was just, I like to see when characters I don't like get called out by other characters.
They do a good job. They've been doing a really good job with just the High Tower storyline and keeping that kind of like check, but giving something like every episode, something new and fresh to like keep invested with, or even if it's not new and fresh, just phenomenal writing and dialogue to carry them that episode. Honestly, it's part of the reason why the Christian Cole thing works so well is because he wasn't in a lot this season, but every time he was on screen, I'll give them credit. Very good monologues, very good scenes and moments of dialogue. It just worked really well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm very curious to see, because obviously that's going to lead to a big battle. That's going to lead to a huge battle, whether it's the dragons coming in and burning the ground, or that is the armies finally colliding. That is going to be, assuming that's going to be one of, if not the biggest conflict that occurs for the entire rest of the show. Like, that is what this finale is building towards, is the High Towers versus Rhaenyra, really. Those are the two biggest powers.
Arguably, it is the biggest fight in the entirety of the Fire and Blood storyline.
Yeah. I kind of
we are building towards something. You'll get there. I don't know, again, with how many deviations they've had, I don't know when we're going to get there. I know there's some things that they are going to just recreate, because if they don't, I'm going to get really pissed. Like, there's one moment. I mentioned last episode that there was a moment I was waiting for them to do. That was the Christian Cole moment.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one more moment that I'm waiting for, that if they don't adapt, I'm actually going to be upset, because it's the one moment since the conception of this show that I've been wanting to see happen 5 years ago when this show, started and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. Look, I guess wrapping up my thoughts, good episode, great start. I'm excited for what they're going to do, I guess technically tomorrow, in tomorrow's episode. So yeah, I'm very hopeful for the end of the show.
Yeah.
I'll touch on this quickly before because I know we're trying to get to 97.
Yeah.
Because I heard this rumor, and I heard this, that a lot of people have seen episode 7, and they're not exactly happy about it because it deviates too much from the book.
So okay, but I guess the question with that is, though, is that net new deviations, or is that deviations in response to the deviations from this episode? That would kind of be...
I don't know, and I can't tell you that, because I haven't seen the episode
yet. I know,
I've heard the rumors that people are very upset with episode 7 and calling it a disappointment, so we'll see what happens with that.
And I think,
but I wanted to touch on that now before we, see it tomorrow.
That's going to make next week's episode really interesting, because I'm coming in not knowing the source material, so I can't be disappointed by deviations in the story. I know no better. I didn't even know that these were deviations until a TikTok popped up and I watched it. It was like, biggest deviations, and it was like the two things, one with Corlys and one with Alicent. Next week, if there's even more deviations, I'm curious to see how that conversation goes, you knowing the source material and knowing what those deviations are, and me obviously not. Because I can't be disappointed unless it's just a bad episode. But if the only disappointing thing is the deviations, who am I to know? So, yeah. But good episode.
I don't know.
I did really enjoy it, other than just the Sir Christian Cole death. I'm excited to see we're gearing up for, I think, what's going to be... I will say, though, I really don't think the season finale is going to be all that hype. I think it's going to leave off on a huge cliffhanger, and I think there's going to be big reveals. But I'm expecting, because everything's been building to season 4, which I think season 4, again, I don't know the source material, is going to be nonstop, just insano shit, and that's what we've been saving and building for. So
there is a chance now that we're at where we're at, the final battle that we feel like has been building in all season 3 might not even take place till season 4.
Oh, yeah,
kind of like they did with like Battle of the Gullet.
I'm really
There's
not,
a chance they could do it like that. But there is one moment in the show that I know they're not going to deviate from because it's too fundamental to the show for them not to do it. Especially because there's a lot of seeds planted for it in this episode, and you probably don't even realize it. But when it happens, you're going to sit there and go, "That's definitely the cliffhanger. I understand why they did that. That's a big moment for this."
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I'm very excited to see where. I mean, literally, we don't have to wait all that long. By the time this episode goes up, we will be able to watch the episode almost. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But moving on from House of the Dragon, something that all 3 of us can have a conversation on.
Finally, I can finally yap. I'm so excited. I just had to bully you guys in place of like actual good, discussion. But here we are.
Fair enough.
What are you talking about? We had good discussions on Christian Cole and incest.
Yeah, I know. I know you love your incest. I know.
Yeah.
Didn't you have fun, Mike? Okay, sure. I will go get another thing of alcohol and make this 10 times worse for us.
Please don't.
It's already bad enough, man.
Something that all 3 of us can talk about. Unfortunately, not Spider-Man Brand New Day yet, but we did have season 2, episode 7 6. This is another episode 6.
Yeah, your counting sucks, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
I know. I need to double check before I start these episodes, but I woke up like right before this episode was recording, so I'm tired.
I woke up in the middle of it.
Yeah. But we have X-Men 97's newest episode. Carson, I'll go ahead and kick it off to you. I'm actually very curious your thoughts given our conversation last week, so let me know your thoughts on X-Men 97.
Yeah. I made my stance very clear last week on how I felt like this story is kind of just aimlessly wandering, and like how last week's episode with Polaris, I didn't really like that. It was just such a even not as bad as the Wolverine episode, was a just complete side quest feeling episode. This episode also feels like a side quest, but it the only reason it feels that way is because we get a final shot and a final scene with Apocalypse and a Gambit card, and that's the storyline I know we're trying to build towards. That's what the whole season has been building towards. So it just infuriates me a little bit that this is what I want to see, and this is what I've been waiting for, and now you're just actively teasing it, even though, like, a few episodes ago, it was the main storyline. It just makes me a little frustrated. That being said, this episode I actually really adore. I love everything they do with Nightcrawler, giving him some development. Everything they do with his half-brother, I love that. I think it's a really nice, as far as side quests go for X-Men 97, this is arguably a very important one because it goes back to the roots of mutants bad, humans good, the political aspects of what makes the X-Men comics so interesting, of mutants versus humanity. And I think that there's just a lot of great action in this episode. The artistic, like, fight between I forget what the character's name is, Exodus, and Nightcrawler, really well done. It just works so well. And then you got like some smaller moments like Bishop and Polaris, really well done. The Savage Lands, I'm very, very happy that we're getting to see that because I haven't seen that yet. I obviously didn't really rewatch the original series in preparation for this, but I had seen like a handful of episodes, so I don't even remember really if I ever had seen the Savage Lands prior. But I like that we're actually getting it here. Works really well. Writing's really good. They are literally at the stepping stone of, okay, now the last 2 episodes are going to be Apocalypse related. It's just my only complaint of why go on the side quests when we could have just had a full thought through story that connected all the way through. And now I'm honestly seeing why your complaint with season 1 was the way it was, but I feel like even more so than season season 2. Season 1 I felt like was more connected because at the very least, even if it was a side quest, there was always something to do with the main plot within that side quest. Here, I don't really feel like we've had that. I just don't. So not a disappointing episode, very good episode. I will still never call it bad, but it just makes me feel very, just like last week. I wish it was more connected.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Michael, you want to go ahead and give your...
Alrighty. I've got some thoughts. That's a lot of my thoughts right there. Let me start with Nightcrawler is one of my favorite mutants of all time. You can ask Brandon. My Discord profile picture is Nightcrawler. I love Nightcrawler. I love him. I love his character. I love his story. Getting a Nightcrawler-centric episode was amazing, but I can't help but feel a little disappointed that we are still not getting Apocalypse. I thought of this analogy just now. You can put a burger in front of me, and it can be the best burger I've ever seen in my life. It tastes great, it's amazing, but you cannot have behind that a 5-course meal that you're slowly feeding me stuff from and not letting me see the full picture and expect me to be happy about it. The Nightcrawler episode is amazing. I love everything they do with mutants. I think the stuff with his half-brother, having to play with that, Nightcrawler's, immediate, his personality, his, Catholic sense of righteousness, and how he should be and how he feels about certain things immediately being put up against other mutants is really strong. But my main gripe with this season and season 1 has been how disconnected everything feels. You're having the apocalypse in the background, you're giving us little bits every ending episode. The last episode with the Watcher at the end, amazing. I love it. But you're not giving me what I came for. I want to see Apocalypse. I love these stories, but these aren't necessarily building to the Apocalypse thing. They're building on these characters. I love these characters. And again, I really like these episodes, but I feel like I'm missing out. And that's my biggest gripe that I have towards this episode. And especially the fact that we have gone 3 episodes with no main Apocalypse plot after he atomized Magneto. I want to see more of that. And I'm glad we're setting up Gambit, the Horseman of Death. I think all of that's great. But I want to see more, and I'm not fully happy. I feel like maybe after this season is done and I rewatch it all and I know what's coming, I will have much less of an issue with it. But right now, being stuck in a weekly release schedule where I just want to see what Apocalypse has been up to, not even what he's up to, but seeing the heroes deal with the main antagonist plot, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, mutant threats they've ever faced. I'm not fully happy, and that's kind of I love this episode. I love Nightcrawler. I think they do a great job. I want to see more connection, and I need to see more episodes. If they do this again next episode, where it's Apocalypse at the end, and there's not much, I don't think they will do that. But if they do that, I am going to be pissed, because that's 4 weeks where we have gotten nothing with Apocalypse, basically.
I think that's fair enough. We're getting, if I'm not mistaken, we're getting 9 episodes left of this season, which is 1 less than season 1. So yeah, we have 2 episodes left.
I think so. I don't know why I thought it was 8, but you're probably right.
I believe it's not. Well, no, it is 9 because I remember last was 10 episodes and this was 1 less episode. So that would mean my math isn't that bad. I can do that math. That means 1 less episode means 9 episodes. So we have 2 episodes left. And I think kind of to sum up into my thoughts, X-Men 97 Season 2, Episode 7 is another great episode of X-Men 97. Why are we doing all these side quests? This was my biggest problem with Season 1, where you set up something really good in your first 2 to 3 episodes. It's so interesting. It's so amazing. It ends off on a huge cliffhanger that you really want to come back to, and then you just kind of ignore it. Season 1 did that for, I think, 2 episodes, really, where it kind of you had the Mojo episode, which is still the worst episode of the show. Nothing in this season has been as bad as the Mojo episode, but they have started to get to the point where, okay, cool, you're feeding us good episodes, but this is modern television. The main argument that I've heard for this style of storytelling is, oh, that's the way the 80s cartoon, that's the way everything was just storyline, disconnected. We're not in the 90s, we're not in the 80s, We're in the 2020s. Tell the story in a modern way. Don't try, like, there's a reason we don't tell stories like that anymore. I get that you can have your episodes that kind of piece together the plot. Every episode has still connected in some sense with the end credit scenes, with Gambit mainly being that through line with Apocalypse coming in, and that's fine, but that doesn't build to it as much as I think they think it does. Again, if they go into Apocalypse and they wrap him up in the next 2 episodes, this is not going to be a good season. I will have loved all the episodes, but as a conclusive season, I don't think it'll be good, because Apocalypse to the X-Men is like Thanos is to the Avengers. In fact, he's actually kind of more than Thanos is to the Avengers in a way. Like, Apocalypse is like the guy. He is the first X-Men. He was created by the Celestials to wreak havoc on Earth. Like, he is like the villain, and you set him up so goddamn well. Those first 3 episodes of this season are like up there with a lot of the episodes from season 1, and then you just kind of go off and do your own thing, and you have Wolverine going and having an alien movie for no reason, and then you go into last week's episode where it was more connected, because at least you have Charles dealing with the grief of Magneto, Polaris dealing with the grief of Magneto, and you have those elements. Other than the end credit scene, this episode was 100% disconnected. It was like Wolverine level disconnected, where Creed is back for no reason. Why is he back?
No,
okay,
no, he's
cool.
not going to have any mention after this.
You want to tell a story with Nightcrawler and with Exodus and all of that? Again, great episode, fantastic episode. I love Nightcrawler being the righteous, being the Catholic, being the character that... this is like the most Nightcrawler we've seen almost ever, just in this episode. I loved Colossus, and Colossus's morals driving him. I love the scene where Nightcrawler asks Colossus at the end, what was your verdict going to be? Exodus threw this entire tantrum like, hey, you're a race traitor. He literally threw around the term like race traitor and started the entire battle when Colossus was going to agree with him the entire time. Like, that whole thing, putting into perspective, that whole battle and everything, like, it was all so well done. It's just, where is this season going? What are we gonna do if these next 2 episodes fully wrap up Apocalypse and this turns out to be like a 2-parter, since we already have confirmation of not only season 3 but season 4, then I'm just like, I don't know what they were expecting us to feel about this, but you can give us all the great episodes you want. Make it connected, make it a story, make it a thing. Like, I don't know. I had my problems with it in season 1, and even as of last episode, because it was only 2 episodes, I didn't have as big of a problem as Carson did. But now that we're 3 episodes in, and not only 3 episodes into the, like, quote-unquote filler, but 2 episodes left of the season, I can admit that I'm starting to flip the script and agree a lot more than I did originally.
Go off.
But, yeah.
Amazingly put.
I think, like, again, like, we've kind of all talked about the negatives. We've kind of all talked about it in our own ways, like the disconnectedness. So I don't want to harp too much on those negatives all that much, because I think, like, there's nothing else to really talk about. The story's not connected. The Apocalypse, that's the other thing. And I guess we can start here. Apocalypse clearly isn't actually dead. Like, them showing Apocalypse dead at the end of this episode, he's clearly not dead. You're right, it's setting him up to be the Horseman of Death. Presumably that's why they showed him as a skeleton. But at the same time, like, so what does that mean? Are we getting a multiversal version? Are we getting, like, what is...
So, I don't remember if you watched X-Men Apocalypse or not.
I did not, actually.
In that film...
sorry.
Okay, at the very beginning of that movie, Oscar Isaac's Apocalypse is basically showing the whole point of why he's after Charles Xavier in Apocalypse, which is he wants to put his, I would guess, soul self into Charles's body so that he can continue to live on forever. That's what Apocalypse does. One body to the next, so that's how he continues to also live forever, because even if you're a mutant, you're not immortal. You can't live for forever. That's not how that works. You still die out, your body dies out, so you have to reinsert yourself into another person's soul or body. So what I'm understanding from the last shot is that is the Skeleton Apocalypse, correct? But he was sitting on a, I think he was sitting on a slab, if I remember correctly, or he was just knocked off of one. I think that's because he had transferred his body into somebody else's,
which would be Gambit.
And if I had to, I don't know if it was Gambit, but I know that, it could be a Gambit helped him, and that's why there was the charred thing.
I think that especially with what they've been building to with Gambit being the shots, if you're right and they transferred his consciousness, it would have to be Gambit. Like, what are they gonna do? Re-atomize Magneto? Like, who else could it be?
I was about to say the only other person it could be is Magneto, and he's not existent anymore.
It also doesn't have to be a person we know. It could just be another person that looks like Apocalypse, whatever, and it's just like, oh yeah, I do this so I can continue to keep on living. Like, there doesn't have to be somebody we know, but it's clearly being set up that Gambit isn't a host for Apocalypse, but he is a horseman for Apocalypse. That's what they set up episodes ago. So I don't think that the card itself is charred because he was trying to transfer his body. I think it was genuinely because
he killed or burned the body or whatever. Like,
could be. There is another option. I've heard that somebody says that the reason the card says the Queen of Hearts is because he's going after Rogue. Not to kill her or whatever, but like
he remembers and he wants to like connect with her. Or?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, again, it's all speculation, but that's kind of like an idea.
I mean, I've already talked about how I really don't want. Like, I already had my reservations about bringing Gambit back in the first place. Doing it as an Horseman of the Apocalypse, I don't think is the worst choice ever. But my big fear, and this was kind of the conversation back when there were rumors about Magneto also coming back as a Horseman of the Apocalypse, which, like, again, how do you re-atomize someone you de-atomized? But if you bring back every character that you kill, it just kind of takes the weight away. And that's a big complaint that, like, Marvel Comics fans have, is Marvel Comics runs into the problem where they'll revive every character they kill off and nothing ever feels weighted, and why are we ever supposed to care about anything? X-Men 97 has killed off now two of its biggest characters, two fan favorites, and if they're just going to bring him back for the sake of bringing him back, then I don't... Why am I going to care the next time you kill someone off?
I mean, that's the complaint that you also could use with the MCU. Why bring back RDJ after, you've already
But RDJ is coming back as a fundamentally different character. The better argument is Steve, but at least they're not bringing him back from the dead. He's still alive. I still think it's not the greatest choice, but I think RDJ, he's not coming back as, like, Iron Man. He's coming back as Doom, and we've already talked about our problems with that, obviously, but at least he's not they've already confirmed this isn't even a multiversal version of Tony. This is just Doom. This isn't like this is Tony from another universe, or we're reviving. Like, this is Doom. So I think that's a little different. But I think, that's my biggest thing. But I think moving on to the positives, like, God, Nightcrawler. Just such a good character.
Yeah.
So good.
Really good. Just a really good, well done episode for that character specifically. And I know that if you're a big fan of Nightcrawler, that's going to be your bread and butter. There it is. Yeah, I was kind of queuing you up there for that one.
It was awesome. I loved it. But again, it's just the fact that it's a great episode on its own, but we've spent so much time away from it. And I want to add on to something you said, where you said that it's possible that Apocalypse may be a 2-season kind of a thing. If they decide to go down that route, Bo DeMaio did not write Season 3, I don't believe. So it's back up in the air as to if it's going to be, like, given paid justice or whatever, since Bo DeMaio obviously, I don't know what exactly his writing credits are or what he did. I know it's a whole big drama with him, and what I know he's very responsible for Season 1 and most of Season 2. From my understanding, Season 2 is the last thing he worked on before he was fired. The whole drama with Marvel happened, all of that. So we are now going from a storyteller that we trust into Season 3, where it's going to be back up in the air as to whether Apocalypse is going to be handled well or not. That's worrying. That's worrying me. Whatever your verdict is on Bo DeMaio,
well, and I guess
he's a damn good writer.
Correct, but a weird comparison, but I guess an apt comparison. Again, we don't know for sure, but an example of a property that started off pretty good with its first project and then kind of lost itself afterwards because they kept switching directors. The X-Men's, or not, I don't know why I said the Star Wars sequels. The Star Wars sequels, look, say what you will, Force Awakens is not a bad movie. Is it just a New Hope 2.0? Yes, but it is not a bad movie, and I will die on that hill. I even like the other two sequels, other than The Last Jedi. I like the other two sequels more than your average person. Or not Last Jedi. I actually like The Last Jedi. Rise of Skywalker is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It's not good. But I like the sequels more than most people, but I can still see that, like, you had a pretty good start, not like X-Men 97 level, but a pretty good start, and then you changed directors, and then you tried to change back, and you're right. That's where you lose the plot. That's where you don't do characters justice. That's where Snoke gets killed off in the second movie, and they just recycle the Emperor because they lost ideas. Like, that's where you get stuff like that, and having Beau DeMaio be solely responsible for season 1, and then I guess, somewhat responsible. Again, called into question exactly what involvement or how much he wrote or how much they've changed, but relatively responsible for season 2, and then absolutely completely getting rid of that for season 3. If Apocalypse doesn't get wrapped up in these next 2 episodes, but I guess here's a question: do we want Apocalypse to be wrapped up in the next 2 episodes?
Well, you said 9 episodes, so we have 7, 8, 9 after this, right?
No, this week was 7. 6. This week was 7, so we have 8 and 9. We have 2 episodes left. 8, 9. This week was 7. So we have 8 and 9.
Are we sure it's 9? Are we sure it's 9? We did clarify that.
I mean, I will triple check, but
that's going to affect my answer.
I'm going to fact check that because that doesn't seem right to me. But
no. I already fact checked the fact that this was episode 7. I guarantee you it was episode 7. I fact checked that already. I'm double checking the episode count. I'm almost positive it's 9 though.
You're right. Yeah, because we've had 3. We've had 3 episodes where they've kind of spun their wheels, and the 4th episode was killing Magneto. You're right.
So
I question your brilliance. I apologize, sir. I apologize.
I'm not gonna spoil it because I don't think Carson. I don't know if you've seen the titles for the episodes, but I'm looking at them.
I have not.
It does look like the next 2 weeks should cover Apocalypse, but I will admit the names of the episodes do not make me think that we are going to get a definitive end to Apocalypse. And I guess, again, it goes back to my question. Do you really want them to? We're talking about how Apocalypse is the X-Men villain. Would you rather him get wrapped up and never come back again? Or would you rather him be a presence in the next however many seasons? Kind of like he was admittedly in the original show.
At this point, no. But again, to what cost? To have another season of aimless wandering and then a final 3 episodes where it actually deals with concluding Apocalypse. I mean, if that's the route we take, then I'm going to be upset about it. Again, I love 97. I still think 97 is some of the best Marvel that we're going to get. It's the best animated show that we've gotten from Marvel, hands down. And even with all I make the complaint as if it's like a detrimental thing. I like the side quests. I think they're good. I just wish they focused on it more. No, I would prefer that you just wait till the next season at that point then. Again, if it was this episode that they started doing things again, I'd give them leeway, get it done, end it, because you did that with the Sebastian Stan storyline last season. You could easily do that here, now, with Apocalypse.
And here's...
You just gotta commit to your bid at this point, I feel like.
Here's one thing that I've been thinking of. We talked about, or at least I mentioned in my thing, how in the original cartoon, it was very similar. Kind of different because they'd focus on, like, 3 episodes dedicated to a major plot line, a little bit of filler, 3 episodes dedicated to a major plot line, but most of the time they would still have a little bit of a through line in there, at least with most of their seasons. And I said that style of storytelling doesn't work in the modern era. There's another thing that I meant to add on to that. The original X-Men animated series, their seasons on average were 15 or more episodes. There were some that were shorter, but they were longer episodes. First season is 10 episodes. Second season is 9 episodes for X-Men 97. Filler episodes, or episodes that don't connect your core plot together, don't work as well when you only have 9 episodes that are all about 25 minutes on average. You can have your filler side quests that go off and are really good episodes if you have 15, 16, 24 episodes. But when you have 9 episodes of 20 minutes, that's like basically a movie length. If you add all that time together, you're talking like basically a little over a 2-hour movie. You can't do as many little side quests here and there because you don't have as much time to tell a core story.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that's another big thing that just like, if these seasons were longer, and why the fuck are they 9 episodes? I don't know. I guess give them time to make the best episodes they can, but I can't even say that argument. Like, I can't even make the argument. They look incredible. They sound incredible. But the story is where it's like, I'd rather you just cut these episodes out and like, I don't know. For short seasons, this style of storytelling just doesn't work.
Because it's the exact same problem I had with X-Men 97 Season 1. I gave it an 8 out of 10. I thought the storytelling, everything was amazing, but it did the same thing where we have Gambit's death, and the very next episode is Xavier, and we spin our wheels on a completely new plotline, and then we get back to it. And it's the same thing, you know? Life, Death, Motendo, everything that was happening in that last season. Storm's thing, great. You're still getting off of the main track for it. I really liked your story. I think it was great, but we're jumping off the main track, but it was still mostly connected. This season, there's almost, for the last 3 episodes, almost no connectiveness at all. It's worse than Season 1. And that's like my number one gripe amplified. My score right now is dropping pretty bad depending on how the rest of this season is going to be. If it continues on this path to like the same quality of Season 1, I'm probably going to have to knock this show down to a 7 out of 10.
I don't know if
I'd do worse.
I don't know if I'd go that far personally, because like I think the highs of X-Men 97 Season 1 are the highest highs Marvel's ever done in any property ever. And I know everyone likes to talk about the Gambit episode and all the... I still think episode 2 of Season 1 of X-Men 97 still holds my favorite. Magneto's entire monologue and everything in that episode is some of the best writing Marvel has ever done. It was genuinely...
Ingrate.
Yeah,
Sycophant. Oh my god.
Genuinely some incredible writing. It was just all around amazing. X-Men 97 Season 2 just hasn't had... It's not only the pacing, it's just also hasn't had the high highs. Like, the first 3 episodes are great. They are great episodes. Nothing compared to the Genosha episode or episode 2 for me. But those first 3 episodes are still really good. But then they've had more lows. And I think this is the other thing that hurt. So episodes 1 and 2. And then episode 3 was the Mojo episode, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And then episode 4 was the Genosha episode, which is just phenomenal episode. And then episode 5 is Storm and Forge. And then episode 6 is post Genosha, mixed in with a little Storm and Forge and Xavier coming back at the end of that episode. So it had those 2 episodes that were not back to back, but close enough. I think the biggest thing that's hurting this is that you come off of 3 straight episodes instead of 2 episodes that were really, really good. And then you go into 3 straight episodes after that of not being as good. And then you're going to get back to your main plotline. At least in Season 1, not only were the highs higher, but they broke it up a little more to where it wasn't back to back to back. And I think that's what's hurting this season.
I wanna say something real quick. I find it very funny you're calling it Genosha. It's Genosha, and you're mixing Geonosis and Genosha. That's very funny to me. I love it.
No, that's just how I pronounce it.
Could that be what it's called? I've lied to myself all this time.
It's not. He's just stupid.
I figured.
Shut up.
I figured.
No, but I think that's the big thing.
Yeah, but like I said at the beginning, it's a good episode. It's just getting tiring that we are constantly sitting here waiting for something to happen with Apocalypse after leaving us with something that is fundamentally groundbreaking and world-bending with the death of Magneto, and then really not having all that much to really go forward with the Apocalypse story, except little bits and pieces.
Yeah, end credits.
And it's not even...
It's like the Thanos sitting in a chair.
Credit scenes. Correct. So... I'll wait for next week. I'm sure it'll be a good episode, but that's kind of where I stand at this point.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, again, I think it was a great episode. We didn't really talk as much about, like, the highs, but I feel like that's just because, like, it's so hard to look at this episode and like, I watched this episode and I enjoyed my time with this episode. But when I turned off this episode, I sat there and went, okay, cool. That's never going to matter again. Like, again, why would you bring Creed back? Like, what? Like, he's not been in any, like, just randomly, and now he's in the Arctic?
Or I think they rescued him at the end of the episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the U.S. government did rescue him, and that is another connective tissue for, I guess, the secondary plot line for this, which is the government versus the X-Men, because you have the two main plot lines at this point now. One they set up only more recently, but you have the Apocalypse stuff, and you have the X-Men versus the government, now X-Corp. And that's kind of the other thing that they did do in this episode, and that is a lot of what this episode was, because the government obviously doesn't want any bloodshed. They're unfortunately kind of bigots. And that's where, yeah.
That's like the entire plot of every X-Men ever.
True. That is kind of the point of the X-Men. That's why I love it. But I think that's where, I do think a lot of that was interesting. But even then, like, the stuff that they did with him and the stuff that they did with Colossus, it was very quick. It was like, I was really expecting like a huge, big, like 10-minute monologue from like, I was expecting that whole court scene to go on a lot longer. And it was kind of just like, I think like 3-4 minutes of really good stuff. And then they just fought. And the fighting was really good. I love seeing Nightcrawler use dual swords, one with his tail, one with his hands, and fighting Exodus and all of that stuff. But that didn't really mean anything, because this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, that we've seen Exodus and a lot of these characters, other than Colossus, who Colossus was in Season 1? Was Colossus even in Season 1?
If he was very briefly in Genosha. That's
I remember him from the original animated series. I do remember him from the original animated series, but we're now jumping back in, and his sister has died, and we're just now like, I get it. I get that this is something that would happen. I do. I think all of the stuff with Exodus and all of them trying to be like the acolytes of Magneto, it makes sense that this would happen. It's just bad placement. That's really all it is. But I don't know if there's anything else either of you want to talk about with this episode in particular. Again, good episode, bad placement. We'll see what the next 2 episodes bring. Guys, is it time? We're 2 hours in and we still haven't even talked about it.
No.
I'm so excited. I want to show y'all something real quick. I'm going to take my camera off the top. I'm just going to pull it up a little bit. Y'all see that?
Da 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 da.
Thanks for listening to the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, so this has been another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. I think next week, if I'm not mistaken, we have Super Troopers 3. Honestly, my most anticipated movie of the year. So unbelievably excited. Could not be more excited to talk about a movie I haven't even finished watching the first 2 of. I'll do that this week. Yeah, no. Carson, you have the distinct honor. We will give you your 3 minutes. Michael will get his 3 minutes, and then I'll get mine, and then this is going to just chaos ensue as Carson reviews Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Movie was shit.
Oh my god, I
One
fucking hate you! I knew you were going to do this shit. I don't know if you saw that from he did that on our Odyssey review, and he did that last week.
I think I saw that clip, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody in the comments who have the attention span of a goldfish.
Oh my god. No. I've been very anticipated for Spider-Man Brand New Day. For 2 reasons. 1, it's a new Spider-Man movie. 2, it came out on my birthday, so I thought that was really special. That being said, walking into this film, I had no real anticipation of what to expect or what I was going to get out of it, purely because this is the first time in a MCU capacity that we've seen Spider-Man be a street-level hero, outside of the exception of probably, I know a lot of people don't like the comparison of like Spider-Man Homecoming. There's really a grounded sense with this film going into it. and I'm happy to report that it sticks to that the entire time. This is very much a street level movie. Can it come across as messy at times? Somebody could probably complain about that, sure. I don't think this movie is messy at all. I think this movie is exactly what it needs to be, which is chaotic in a good way, because whereas it feels grounded, there's a lot of world building that's also going along with this film, even more so than I feel like it has in other Holland Spider-Man films, and one of them literally is being a friggin' multiversal Spider-Man film. This one sets up the city of New York so very well, even more so than they do in like a Daredevil, Born Again type series, an Avengers. Like, you feel the villainous presence in this city. You feel the need for Spider-Man to be that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that we've wanted him to be for so long. It works so well here, and Tom, I think, gives his best performance as Peter Parker that we've seen to date. I mean, I love No Way Home. I love it a lot. I think here his performance just works so well. And because he's a more grown-up Spider-Man, it works a lot more. Without, overhyping this movie a little bit, the only complaint that I have with this film, and this is the opposite of what I had for another film we watched this week, I wish this film was shorter. I think it overstays its welcome just a little bit too much in the beginning. It drags on. It's got some very clear pacing issues in the very beginning where the setup and the ideas they have are great. You need to trim it back a little bit because you kind of started losing a little bit of focus and meandered on a lot of things, really until you got to like the big reveal of who Sadie Sink's character is. That being said, changing gears, let's talk about Sadie Sink's character, who she actually is. Motherfucker, that Jean Grey. Welcome to the MCU. Welcome back. This is an exciting casting choice. It's the worst kept secret in Hollywood since Avengers Infinity War.
Thank you, Steve Lacy.
But, yeah, thank you, Steve Lacy. Appreciate it. No, the worst kept secret in Hollywood. We knew she would be playing Jean Grey. And I think once you kind of do get that idea, it's like, okay, how does Jean Grey fit into this story? How does an X-Men character fit into this story? And that's what I love about the world building of this film so deeply much, is that they are now planting the seeds for mutants in a Spider-Man story where Peter himself is going through this mutant-like change, a change in himself, kind of allowing for the story to really balance out by introducing mutants. It works really well. This is of all the Spider-Man films, as far as cameos go from like other MCU actors, I think are used very well because they all have a role to play in some regard. There's some things you could nitpick to death. I told my friend about this one, but the way the Punisher comes back into the third act, if you had just added one line after the fight with Hulk, like saying that Punisher's like aware of what Jean can do now and is actually kind of afraid of it, is like, this is dangerous. I tried it your way. I'm killing this bitch. And you kind of like set that up that he's tracking Jean, so when you get to the final fight, it's not so forced. And it's like, I see what you're doing, and I'm gonna take care of it myself now. Like, okay, I wish we would have set that up a little bit more, and it would have kind of like fleshed out that a bit more. You could nitpick it to death. I didn't really care all that much, but like you could find things to nitpick about. Overall, this is probably, with the exception of the two Spider-Verse films, my second favorite live-action Spider-Man movie. I think that it's incredible. Swinging, cinematography, writing, it all does a good job. Street level. This is what I wanted this whole time from Tom Spider-Man, and I'm glad we got it.
Fair enough. Can't wait to disagree with you on a lot of your points. Michael, go ahead.
Oh boy. Okay. Oof. You can tell. I got the shirt. I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man's one of my favorite heroes of all time. This movie is my most anticipated movie of this year. I had a lot of worries going into this movie. I was seeing a lot of things. I saw a couple spoilers, which I will harp on later. I hate TikTok. I hate the internet. But sitting in that chair and watching this movie play out and feeling all of my worries wash away instantly. Destin Daniel Cretton cooked out of his mind. It's so good. One of my only complaints with No Way Home is the fact that the movie looks ugly during the day shots. This movie looks incredible. The swinging is the best it's ever looked. The fights are the best I think that they've ever been. The story still keeps the emotional, heartfelt core. You didn't mention this. MJ and Ned were handled to perfection. I have no notes. It's everything I wanted for him to do. The scene, the twist, wherever Sadie Sink is actually Zendaya, MJ, perfect. I called it like right before it happened, and I was like, oh no. How, like, almost evil of her, and the fact she loses that. Jean Grey fits into this story perfectly. Tom does the same thing for Jean that the Peters did for him last movie, and I think that's amazing. This movie is great. This feels like it feels like an MCU movie, but at the same time it doesn't in the best way possible. And I could go on about this movie forever. I am fully prepared to give this movie I gave it a 9 out of 10 last night. I am fully prepared to give this movie a 10 out of 10. I need to watch it again. That's the first thing I said when I got out of it, is I need to watch this again and let everything truly marinate, because you're right. There is a lot that's going on in this movie, and it can get pretty confusing, but I think a second watch, which I'm so excited to do a second watch if I can find a seat, most packed I've ever seen a theater ever, and it's awesome and I love it, but this movie is handled to perfection. My only issue with it is I do feel that it is not too cohesive at times. The ending, where you said the beginning drags, I don't think the beginning drags. I think the ending kind of drags a little bit. Whenever we're like kind of hopping around, I think the stuff with Department of Damage Control is incredible. I think that they're handled perfectly as the antagonist and kind of what's going on. I was having an argument. Me and a few other people were having an argument with this one dude in Discord last night over it. Department of Damage Control was incredible. They did exactly what they needed to do. And also, the fact that Peter, and they have, I think, sufficiently set up anti-mutant and mutant callers, which I thought was, holy crap. I'm so excited to see where this goes. It's definitely a launch pad for mutants and Jean Grey in specific, and I think that it's handled very, very well.
Now that we've all given our thoughts, we can all
I knew
really
you were
dive
going to
into
do this! Speaking of packed theaters, I already talked about my family thing. I've only seen this movie once. I'm seeing it again on Monday. There was the only seat in the entire theater that wasn't kissing the screen. I booked it last night, and it's in Dolby Atmos, like off to the like far corner of the theater by itself. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is now the biggest opening preview of any movie in history. It beat Endgame for the biggest opening preview of any movie ever. It's made over $70 million in one day. We're not even done with the weekend, and this movie's already on track to be one of the highest grossing movies of all time.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, when you leave off on a cliffhanger that No Way Home left off on, or debatably, if somebody really did debate it, is a bigger cliffhanger than Infinity War? Yeah. Especially with how much Spider-Man means to people more than Avengers. Doesn't surprise me.
Fair enough. Well, now it is actually my turn to give my thoughts. Spider-Man Brand New Day is an absolutely incredible Spider-Man movie. It is my favorite movie of the year. It is my second favorite Spider-Man movie of the live actions. I still think the two animated might be better, but I'm going to be honest with you. This movie on rewatch could easily become one of, if not my favorite Spider-Man movies. I have so little to complain about. This is the most Spider-Man feeling out of all of them. It is the most comic book feeling. This feels like, honestly, one of the better MCU films when it comes to being a connected film without feeling overly connected. The world building that they do, not only with Punisher and Bruce and Jean and all of that, but just with the city of New York and their support of Spider-Man, is all done so incredibly well. I'll get my one complaint out of the way, and that is I wish this movie was longer. Mainly because I think that the twists that they do, one twist in particular, feels way too sudden, and since we're in spoilers, I don't like how they fake out Peter's death and then immediately show that he's not dead. Like, it was immediate, like, boom, he's shot, boom, he's fine. What was the point of that if you weren't going to kill him? I don't love how fast that resolves, but I like the decision that they did to do it. I just wish it wasn't as fast of a turnaround. Other than that, though, the dynamics that Peter has, not just with Frank, obviously that stuff was incredible. That stuff was butt-gustingly hilarious. But his dynamics with absolutely everyone, his dynamics with Yelena, amazing. His dynamics with the police chief, his dynamics with damage control, all of that stuff is just so well. He feels like goddamn Peter Parker. He feels like Spider-Man. Like, Tom is my favorite Spider-Man. I've talked about that ad nauseum anytime it's ever come up. But, like, this is, I think, the best Tom has done at feeling like Spider-Man. The action sequences are so well done. I mean, it's Destin Daniel Cretton. Love or hate Shang-Chi, the action is incredible in Shang-Chi, and you feel that in this. I admittedly had some problems with how much slow-mo they used, but that's a personal problem that I can easily overlook, because when they are not in slow-mo, the action is so well done. This movie, from the opening shot, is one of the most colorful movies that they've ever had. The red of the Spider-Man suit pops so well. The Spider-Man suit looks really good. Peter is miserable. That's what we've all been asking for. He's not broke. That man has more technology in his apartment than goddamn Tony Stark did. Granted, I could assume he probably got some inheritance or something, or maybe sold off some technology. That is not a big complaint to me. I love what they did with his character, with the evolution, with the metamorphosis, especially because Tom has talked so much off camera about this being such a transitional film for him, not just as Spider-Man, but as an actor. And you can really feel that come through in this story, him transitioning from a boy Spider-Man to a man Spider-Man. We didn't get man Spider. I'm kind of disappointed, but I don't think any of us was ever expecting Jean being the twist villain, but not really being the villain, and then getting the double twist of damage control was all so well done. I love, again, dynamics are amazing. Her dynamic with Peter is amazing. Her backstory, because this movie is just as much a Peter Parker in Spider-Man movie as it is a Jean Grey origin story, which, even knowing that Sadie Sink was going to be Jean Grey, was not in the cards whatsoever. We got a big focus on setting up who Jean Grey is as a person and who she is going to be. And I love that they very clearly set up not only the anti-mutant stuff with Peter, which was like kind of the biggest twist of the movie for me. Having Peter be the one to make the anti-mutant technology was just not even remotely in the cards. That was an insane twist. But also having a very clear through line to where you can now make the mutants villains and why you can make the mutants hated. Because that's been my biggest fears as you introduce the mutants. Their biggest thing is being hated, arguably for no reason. Now you've set up with Jean and damage control possibly being able to spin this with the amount of control that they have into hating mutants. So that they just did so well. I think this movie is just so phenomenally done from every single aspect. I guess one more complaint. Stop ending Hulk with a we're friends. Stop it. Stop doing it. If every time you end a battle with the Hulk it is calm down, we're friends, that gets a little tiresome. I think it is such a small complaint. I still love this movie, and that's why I didn't really harp on it too much, but that is like, stop ending battles that way.
I want to point out Metzger, so Trammell Tillman's performance. You can feel the resentment bubbling through in every scene he is in with Jean Grey. It's incredible, and you know how much, like, because Jean Grey is not in the right in this movie. However, her actions make sense. You cannot do the same. You cannot do the same thing in WandaVision, where you take an entire town hostage and presumably give memories back to MJ as to what Peter did, which I think is why she was crying. That was some theories I saw.
Well, no,
last
she read
night.
she read the note. She found the note. That was what that whole scene was.
But she didn't remember. She didn't remember anything. But Jean Grey might have given her back those memories, and then Ned at the very end. Perfect scene, by the way. Everything I wanted
love
from that.
I didn't even talk about
So
all
good.
that much, but like Ned
So
and MJ in this movie, that was another big fear I think of a lot of people. Is like, how do you make that good? I don't know how you do it any better.
Especially coming off it, like, cause the worry is you don't want to undo it too easily. You don't want it to be, like Gene said, a true love's kiss that would bring back memories. Amazing point to, like, the trope or whatever that he, like, kind of thought would work and that it didn't. I think that's incredible. Also, I want to point out, this is a joke I made after the movie. Peter Parker is a better man than Bear from Obsession. Hey, I kissed you. I didn't realize you were under control. My bad. Thank you for telling me this. I don't remember it. Wraps perfectly into the story, and we prove that Peter Parker's not a creep. Great job, Destin. Amazing.
That was such a small scene, but I think such a perfect scene for Peter to be like. It makes so much sense that he'd apologize because he's just such a good person, and you need to feel like he's a good person, and you feel that this entire movie. Carson, I know you haven't said anything. I know.
No, I have.
Well, so
No.
I'll start here because this is the biggest point of contention that we disagree with. Do you understand where I'm coming from with my comments on the pacing? Because I know you said you want this movie to be shorter, and I said I wanted this movie to be longer. But the only reason I want this movie to be longer is really just some of the twists feeling insanely sudden. And I don't want to say pointless, because again, I like that they did the whole Peter, I like what they tried to do. I just think it happened too fast, because like Peter gets shot, like, I shit you not, I threw my hat on the ground and stood up and like hand on my face, because a big theory going into this was that they'd kill him, and then immediately, without even like time to process the fact that it happened, we show that he's okay.
I'm gonna interject here just for a second. I think that's a good choice, only because Jean Grey and the fact that she is keeping him alive for God knows how long, and you can see how much intense concentration it's costing her to keep him alive. And then Punisher also says, yeah, she was doing that magic voodoo shit on you. Great ending scene, by the way. I've got a plan. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, but absolute cinema.
I think that it works because you give Jean a chance to be better, and it builds off of that while keeping him alive. I really like that. I think that's a good choice.
Okay.
So if you want to elongate those sequences, that's fine. I have no issue with that. That's not where my issue's stemming from. It's that in the very beginning, I feel there's this kind of just meandering around the point of what we're trying to get to with their movie, and there is an easy 10 minutes you can cut out of this film. And the only reason I say that is because, unfortunately, this film, unlike most MCU movies, genuinely, you feel the runtime.
I'm going to be honest. Like, I could not disagree more. I did not even realize this movie was 2.5 hours until after I walked out. This movie went by in a flash for me.
So that's fine. I know I'm not the only one who
felt it. I felt it too. I can see what you're going for.
I was about to say, I know I'm not the only one who felt that, because a lot of chatter online after, seeing this film, because I was actually able to look at stuff, a lot of people agree with me. This film needed to be shorter. But I think, honestly, the contention you're talking about that we have, I think they're both sides of the same coin. If you shorten it, you can kind of eliminate the problems that you have. If you elongate the movie, you can also eliminate the problems that you have with it.
I guess
in a lot of ways you can.
My big thing is, like, I hear your comments about the meandering, and, like, I just don't feel that. I actually really like that we took a long time to introduce who Jean was and what was going on. I like the fact that this movie kind of starts out and meanders. I don't know why, but for me, and maybe I'll dislike it on rewatch, who knows, but like, I really liked how at the beginning we didn't really have an idea of what this movie was going to be or what was going to happen. It kind of just felt like 20 minutes, 30 minutes of Spider-Man being Spider-Man and going through his own personal problems and metamorphosis and all of that. And then as throughout this, but especially towards that like 20 to 30 minute mark, that's when they start laying the pieces for what this movie's actually going to be. They have the reveal of Jean, they have the reveal of what's going on with damage control, and that happens a little like 20 to 30 minutes in, but I like that we meander up until that point.
You're a little lost on that. That's like 40 minutes into the film. I didn't time it,
a
but
lot longer, like almost an hour.
That's why I'm saying is like they need to, if they're going to tell that story, you got to cut stuff out.
I guess for me again,
that's not till so far.
I just didn't feel
into the
length.
film.
I guess again, I'm not saying neither of you are Spider-Man fans, but I guess for me, watching a Spider-Man movie for me, and this is I guess my thing. I'm always a proponent for make your movie as long as you need it to be. I love the longer your thing is, as long as it feels worth it, the better for me. Because I want to be able to enjoy this for as long as possible. And I think that's why, because none of the stuff that they did was bad, I didn't mind the fact that we're just watching Peter take down villains in a montage similar to what Fantastic Four did, just a little bit of a longer period of time. I like that that's what we're getting, because I'm sitting down in the theater and I just want to watch Spider-Man be Spider-Man. If you gave us a 24-episode season of television with hour-long episodes of Spider-Man, I'll binge that show every single goddamn day of my life, because I just want to live with this Spider-Man and live in this world. So I get that, yeah, it can feel like meandering if your only purpose in the movie is to get to the point. But to me, I don't care about getting to the point as fast as possible. I just enjoy seeing Tom be Spider-Man.
It's not about getting to the point. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with all that. I liked the montage stuff, but they took too long on it, and it just really bogged down the runtime for me. Now, I want to say this first and foremost. Just because that happened does not mean that this is like a horrible film. I still said this is my favorite of the Holland film. Oh no, I didn't say that. Okay, so let me say this.
You said second favorite of the Holland films.
Other than Spider-Verse films, because those are untouchable, I don't think that you can really compare any Spider-Man film to those. That's really difficult. The only other film that I've actually seen Spider-Man live action wise that I think is arguably better than this one is Spider-Man 2. And the only reason I say that is because, and this is the direction I'm looking at it from, it's the same conversation we have between The Dark Knight and The Batman. Brand New Day is a better Spider-Man film. Spider-Man 2 is a more complete film. Like, start to finish, that is good pacing. It's perfectly well done. It's a arguably better, more constructed film with effects and this and that and all of it. Brand New Day is a little messier in that department, but the actual story and Spider-Man stakes of itself, like, it's the most Spider-Man I think Spider-Man has ever felt in a live-action film, is what holds it up so high. So that's kind of where I sit with it. To piggyback off of what Michael said, because I didn't touch on this, the visual effects in this film, some of them are really bad. And I'm surprised considering that a lot of this film was shot practically. There's some, a lot of the swinging sequences, great. They look great. They rival Amazing Spider-Man 2, which came out, over 10 years ago. But also, when the effects at times don't look that good in a very mostly practically shot film, I'm just surprised that the shot of Peter swinging in the night when he's unmasked and he's crying, you see the emotion, looks good. The city behind him looked very off. You could have spent a little bit more time to develop that. It's almost like the argument with when Superman's flying in the Superman movie, and you can really see that they had to go back and change that. It almost as this felt the same way. So it's like things like that where I'm like, I cannot in good conscience give this film this is a perfect 10 out of 10 or even a 9 out of 10. This is like a solid 8 for me because of some things like that with story just constant dragging and not really picking up in the beginning like it should. And then you have CGI things from here on out. I liked the ending. I don't think the ending was rushed at all. I actually think that pretty much everything from the Jean Grey reveal all the way through to the end, I thought actually was pretty perfectly well paced. I didn't really have an issue with it. It was everything before that just kind of kept meandering and dragging on a little bit.
I'm gonna kind of push back on the beginning pacing issues. I can kind of see what you mean, but for that's not a negative because it lets you truly marinate with where Peter's at in his life.
Yeah.
You want it to feel slower. You want to feel the loneliness that he is going through constantly. And
Agreed.
I think that's a great choice. I really, really like that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you on that. I think sitting in the misery and sitting with him trying to figure out his life, if you moved too quickly, it wouldn't make the ending as impactful. Because here's the thing. The ending, the big moment in this movie, for me, is not the Jean stuff or any of that. It's the moment where Peter realizes that he is not alone. And that moment is when he's standing in the crowd, watching Frank help him out, surrounded by people cheering him on. That's the full circle moment. And that moment to me doesn't matter as much if you don't marinate in how lonely he feels and how he's really he's doing it and he knows he's loved and he knows he's supported, but he doesn't give himself time to appreciate it or live in it. And if you kind of just rush through that ending moment where we sit there and he's staring around and everyone's cheering for him and he finally has a friend at the very least. I was in tears.
The little kid reaches out and does the does the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was getting emotional, and to me, that doesn't mean as much if you rush through or faster pace the setup of him feeling lonely and him not knowing what he's doing and feeling aimless.
So, I hear what you're saying. I ordered a medium rare steak and I got well done. You can have a good marinated thing, which I saw in this film. You can. I'm not going to pull specific examples because I've seen this film once, and it's going to be super hard for me to sit here and go through each individual scene when I can't even really think about each individual scene in the correct order because I haven't seen this film enough. There is a thing as over-marinating something, spending too much time, overcooking something. That is a very, very common thing to do, and it's a very understandable thing to do. Again, I say this with the thing of, like, I liked what they gave us. You just overdid it, and now we've sat here for just too long, and it didn't take me out of the movie, but I felt the impact of the runtime, so by the time we get to that end, I go, yeah, that was 2 hours and 33 minutes. Unlike a Fantastic Four, for example, where I don't feel like that film, like, I think that film goes by pretty quickly. I don't really feel like that runtime is ever really, felt. Thunderbolts is the same way. I think you spend... That's actually a great example. Let's use Thunderbolts, because you brought up Misery, and you brought up marinating in the Misery. You have 6 characters you got to do that with. Really, you focus on Yelena, but you have 6 characters you get to do with that with. And I think that Thunderbolts settles in the Misery about the same as Spider-Man does, but it does it in a much smaller amount of time, because it goes right into the action in the vault, maybe within, like, 15 minutes of the actual film. I'm just saying you overdid it. You over-marinated it. It doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make it wrong. It's just, there's a much more cohesive, better put-together film if you can manage to balance that a little better.
Look, I fundamentally disagree with you on this. It's an opinion that I know I'm not going to change, so I'm not going to go back and forth because I don't want to spend this entire episode harping on the pacing, but, like,
That's fine.
I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind. I think we'll just all have to agree to disagree. But
well, and also, we all can disagree, but we're also not both wrong either. There's people who do kind of agree with you, but there's a lot of people that agree with me.
Personal preference.
I mean, it's pretty fair. It's balanced.
Personal preference.
It just depends on how you look at
But
it.
moving on to one thing I think we can all agree about. That is my only other major negative, and I brought it up previously. I gave a little hinty hint. Fire Marvel's fucking marketing team. They should not be working in the industry. Why are we here? I only watched the first trailer. I've seen one trailer, and yet I saw the hand fight. I saw stuff with Hulk. Why did we know that Rage Hulk was coming back? Why was that not a reveal? Why are we seeing damage? Like, the only thing they did well, and it was the worst kept secret in Hollywood, was the fact that Jean was in this movie and Sadie Sink was playing. That's the only thing. And it was the worst kept secret in fucking history. We all knew for a fact. There was not a single human being on Earth that doubted that she was going to be Jean Grey. So at this point, the only thing that they quote unquote did right, they didn't even do right. And everything else, like, I have now gone back and seen a lot more of the marketing material after seeing the movie. I'm glad I only watched the first trailer, and I'm still pissed that I even watched the first trailer, because after that, they showed fucking almost all the Hulk fight. They showed almost all the end fight with the hand. We're not talking about, like, oh, we're just gonna show a good chunk of the movie in the first half. Literally, in the first trailer, they show a hint at the final fight of this movie. You don't know that it's the final fight of this movie, but why the hell are we marketing shit like this? We don't need it. This movie would have made $2 billion without showing everything in advance. And I'm not saying it's not going to make $2 billion because you showed that, but it is a big problem that they need to get through their thick fucking skulls to stop doing this.
They did the same thing with Fantastic Four. They kept showing way too much of the movie. Admittedly, not to, like, as egregiously an amount, but Fantastic Four also didn't have as much going on in the movie as Spider-Man does, and they still showed. The only thing I don't think that they showed was the final scene where Jean Grey is sitting in, like, the chair, and they're, like, pumping her with, like, telepathic energy. That's the only thing they didn't show.
No, they
showed
her
expansion.
pumping, but they showed the box. They showed her in the box, but they didn't show that it was her.
Can we rephrase the way that we say that? We didn't show her pumping. I just like. Can we please rephrase the way we say that?
Actually, I was gonna correct myself on that. I realized that sounded worse. All of the telepathic energy that they are like forcing onto Jean Grey to like make her more powerful, which first of all explains for why she is going to be so powerful in the MCU. Great job, because obviously she could only hop like what 33
33 feet. 33 feet
was their thing. She could only hop like that far. You explain, okay, she's gonna be able to like mass mind control and do stuff like that. I'm glad that we got that. But again, the marketing for this movie was terrible, and I hate it, and it's not fun. But I also, the worst part, the spoilers. Everyone and their mom posting clips of this movie on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I hate it.
I saw this movie on Thursday. I avoided Discords that I'm in and actively chatting in. I avoided Instagram. I avoided TikTok. And I'm so glad that I did, because legitimately, I got back from this movie and I'm sitting on the metro and I'm scrolling on TikTok. First 5 posts. Not just like Spider-Man reviews. Let's explain this. Oh my god, what? Guys, the movie came out fucking today. Today. I just came from one of the first showings other than Wednesday, which was one showtime that like 30 people per fucking theater got into. What are we doing? Like, people want to complain about like theater culture nowadays. Like talk culture. That's actually one of the reasons why we will always release these podcasts and not release our clips until no later than Sunday at noon. Yes, we talk about spoilers, but you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and half of Sunday to see the movie, and we always give very clear spoiler warnings. So many people on the internet don't do that. And it's so infuriating. Carson, what did you get spoiled? Was it the Jean stuff?
I was about to say there's also people who just decide to yap in theaters for pre-showings of things that fuck the Tony review, man. That was some bullshit, brother.
Yeah. So
turn the lights on to take a photo, talk about Spider-Man in the middle of the theater. Yeah, I'm not gonna care. Gene.
Yeah,
I was spoiled. Gene.
Yeah.
But granted, I think everybody was because of the premiere for the movie itself.
Steve Lacy, God.
Again, I did not see that until afterwards. But like, when I'm scrolling, I see that stuff, and I'm like, oh my god! Like, what was your favorite part of the movie? I think my favorite part of the movie was Jean.
Valkyrie immediately like freaking out, like,
Yep.
what do I say?
Yep. I feel so bad for her in that moment, having to like quickly, like, she Air 404'd, and I don't blame her.
Jean, Ned remembering Peter at the very end. I was spoiled that, and this will be a conversation we'll probably have later. But I was spoiled the post-credit scene, and at the moment I didn't fully understand what they were talking about. But I heard something about Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man or whatever. So I've kind of put it together now, and we can discuss this later. We don't have to get it now, but that post-credit scene potentially hinting at the new Spider-Man isn't like Peter being transported, like our Peter, Tom Holland being transported to Battleworld, but it's in fact Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man coming to Peter's reality again. Especially because you have like the glitching of like the Spider-Verse glitching that comes through on the app or whatever. It just depends. We'll discuss that in a bit. That's not the point.
Let's talk about that now, actually. I know we'll obviously talk. Great. I know we're starting with the end here as we get into our positives, but God, it's so funny because I do find that post-credit scene interesting, and there's so much to theorize about because it says Spider-Man will return. It doesn't say which Spider-Man. It doesn't say when. And I think that's obviously a very smart strategic move, but it's so funny. My entire theater booed at the screen because we're sitting there waiting for what felt like the longest credits in the entire world, mind you, and then there's no mid-credits scene, which is fine, but there's no mid-credits scene, and then we sit through the longest stretch of credits ever, and then that is what you give us?
Yeah.
A lot of people were very clearly pissed off in my theater. I'm not that upset about it. I'm really not. I think it's interesting, and again, the theories are so fun, but at the same time, it is like, Marvel can't blame us when they've trained us for every single movie for 15 years at this point to expect a mid and post credit scene that ties into something. And yeah, this ties into something, but like it's really not much. Well,
yeah, and I'm not as mad at the post credit scene itself. I actually think it's a good tease, especially because like they're saying Spider-Man will return. They don't say which film he returns in, which obviously means he's not going to be in Doomsday.
Correct.
He might be in like a quick post credit scene. He will definitely be in Secret Wars. But again, with the way that the thing glitches, like if you dive into it and you look at it and think of it, because I think people were just upset that it like didn't really do anything. I think when you look at it, it really does. The Spider-Verse style of glitching comes through in the app, meaning it's a multiversal thing, and our Peter's already on the map in New York. New location found. It goes all the way out into space. That's Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And actually, I'm gonna further this point by saying this because I heard about this after. This wasn't my original idea. There is a chance that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was actually removed from that opening shot in the trailer of Doomsday with the Fantastic Four. There's a chance that he's on the ship with the Fantastic Four coming through space, and that's why it says new location found. And I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I don't hate that theory either, that he's actually from the Fantastic Four universe, or that, you know, he came to the Fantastic Four, or somehow he's on that ship with them, and that's actually Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and that's what they're saying, like, oh, he's on the ship with... Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that that's actually, like, too far-fetched. But I do know 100% that's going to be, like, Garfield or Maguire. Probably Maguire. And that's going to be another Spider-Man multiversal coming to either get Peter or coming for Doomsday. I don't know which one it is. But that's what I'm thinking.
It would be cool. My only thought with that is I think it would have already leaked if Tobey Maguire was in Doomsday. I think... it's such a big thing, it somehow would have found its way to the general public at this point. So I'm not getting my hopes up. I think it'd be cool. I don't think it's happening.
We've said that about a lot of things before, and I think it's possible for Marvel to keep things silent. You know, the only reason we were leaked No Way Home with Maguire and Garfield that time was because John Campea decided to post already leaked photos online into his podcast, which then spread, you know, much bigger because he decided to talk about it.
Well, and one thing I'll bring up, I don't entirely disagree with you on this, Michael, but we also still have 5 months left for this to get spoiled for us. I get where you're coming from, where it's like, oh, it would have been spoiled already. I don't entirely disagree with you because I believe, other than reshoots and stuff, filming for the most part is semi-done. So I understand, because if Tobey Maguire was on set, you feel like that would have been spoiled, or if Andrew Garfield's on set, that would have been spoiled. But at the same time, we still have 5 months until the movie comes out. There is still a chance that they're like, yes, we've been able to keep this a secret. Yes, we've kept this locked down. And then just like with No Way Home, because No Way Home didn't break until at least my memory serves, until pretty close to the movie coming out.
Yeah.
For all we know, that same thing could happen here. Now, I've been ruminating on this theory for a while, and I'm curious y'all's thoughts on this. I think they've been lying to us. I think Marvel and Sony have been lying to us. I think that the reason that they have delayed Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse so much isn't just because it's taking longer than expected to make. I think that's because this end credits scene and whatever they do in Doomsday, all of it's going to tie together with the multiverse in some way. And I think they've been delaying that movie, waiting for this movie and especially Doomsday to make sure that it all comes together, it all makes sense, and everything happens in succession. Because you're right, the Spider-Verse style glitching on the machine and then seeing Spider-Man, I didn't immediately think Toby or Andrew at first. But I've had this running theory, and I don't know if I've ever brought it up on the podcast, but I've had this theory that they've been lying to us, at least in part, as to the Spider-Verse delays, and it has to do with they are going to somehow tie... I know it's weird because they're animated, but technically, we've already seen Spider-Man Noir come into live action, so it's not the craziest thing in the world to expect that they could do do the same with others. And that end credit scene is kind of tying into that, and then in Doomsday it's going to tie even more, and then especially in Secret Wars it's going to tie in even more, because Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out almost exactly in the halfway point between Doomsday and Secret Wars, and so they can have an end credit scene in Beyond the Spider-Verse that ties into Secret Wars, because this is all universes colliding, presumably.
So, hear what you're saying. Don't hate the theory. Similar to Wonder Man, keep my Beyond the Spider-Verse out of my fucking MCU. Keep it as far away as possible. I don't care. Do not connect it. Do not connect it at all. I want that to be its own entity because it's so damn good, and if they fucking butcher it because they're trying to connect all of it in some way, somehow, I'm going to lose my shit.
But you won't complain if they do it well.
I won't. If they do it well, I won't complain. But here's what I'll say: if they do that and it ends up being bad, on the podcast, swear to God, right now, and you never thought I'd ever say this. I know you never thought I'd say this. I will stop watching the MCU. I will give up on the MCU because that is the most bullshit thing you could do. You don't have Steve Rogers' phone number. You can't call him. But I will stop watching the MCU. My right hand, I guess on the camera, it's technically my left hand.
The holy camera.
My right hand to God, I will stop watching the MCU because that will be something that pisses me off. To no end, that will be something that pisses me off.
I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. It's just been a theory of mine with how multiversal Spider-Verse is and how multiversal the MCU has been going. And Tom even said, now he didn't mention Spider-Verse, but he did mention Sony, that there was originally a plan to tie in Kraven, Madam Web, and all of those movies into Tom's Spider-Man and the MCU. Like, Tom said that in interviews literally this week. Now, they obviously never did that. Did that, but that was a plan that they had at one point in time. So
yeah, that would be the real kick in the butt. We think it's Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. Maybe it's Miles Morales in live action from Spider-Verse movies. No, stepping through a portal is fucking Sydney Sweeney in some sort of Spider-Man outfit from the Madam Web movies.
Absolute cinema, 10 out of 10.
My mind.
Hey, you mentioned Sydney Sweeney. Immediate 10 out of 10 from me.
Oh my gosh.
10 out of 10. Tits out of 10.
I have a discussion I want to levy up to you guys. No, come back. I need to talk to you, please. Come back. It wasn't me, I promise.
Oh my God.
I have a discussion I want to give you guys.
Okay.
When are we going to start saying that the MCU is back? I think it has been, and I think that this movie cemented that the MCU is back in a good place.
I never thought the MCU fell off.
Oh, it absolutely fell off. The TV, TV era was terrible.
They had a few bad movies. I will give you this, but they've had bad movies since the start, and no one said that the MCU fell off after Thor: The Dark World, or the MCU fell off after Ragnarok, or that. Bad movies doesn't mean something fell off. We've still had great projects. You're forgetting that mixed with the bad, we've also had some really, really good projects. Loki, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four. Like, we've still had a lot of great projects mixed in with what I will agree is not great. Your Ant-Man Quantumanias, your freaking Echoes, which I don't even really count. Like, you've had bad in there, but you still had great mixed in. So I've never been on the bandwagon that they fell off.
We still had the same rate of good, but we also had a lot more bad than we used to have.
But we've also had a lot more movies or projects.
True, but at least half of the shows that we have gotten are either mid to bad. And there's there's a special little cropping of TV shows that I would say are good. And a lot of those shows are not great. A lot of the movies are not great. They started having more problems. Things became disconnected. It's not even in a sense of like quality of the projects. It's the fact that everything just started spreading out and they started buckling under their own weight, kind of a thing.
So to answer your question, and this is just going to be me saying it, Brandon, don't wince, don't flinch. I don't think we're ever going to get back because I think we are at a spot where we can still have good movies, we can have great films, but unfortunately there is no roadmap to Doomsday. You can clock a roadmap kind of when it comes to building to Infinity War and Endgame. That's what makes both those films so special, is that there is clearly a path they set in stone, they planned, and they went for it here. I'm not trying to give Marvel benefit of the doubt. They've had so many things that have had them change course and directions on so many projects, especially with this. And I'm not even going to blame it on Disney Plus as the TV shows. I think if they want to do TV shows, fine. That's whatever. We've had some pretty good TV shows. And we've had some pretty good MCU projects. Most of the top 10 films, I think, from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as of right now, have come from, honestly, the later phases, because there's some really good superhero bangers in there. But there is no roadmap preparing for Doomsday or Secret Wars. That's gone. That never existed. So, no, we're not going to get back. There is no getting back. We're going to reset, which is what they're saying, which I guess could be the saying we're getting back. We're never going to regain the magic that we had, but we can still find the joy within what we're getting.
I cannot disagree with you more, but not for the reasons you might think. I think you're way too short-sighted. I think you're looking at this as Doomsday being the end of the you're saying, oh, we can never get back. So you're assuming that everything that they do with X-Men and all of that post Doomsday is going to be back. Like, look, I'm way higher on the MCU than most people. I will get shit on for it. I'll take it, whatever. I don't care. These movies mean so much to me. I watched all of them with my family. Like, they mean a lot to me. And I know they mean a lot to a lot of people, but, like, I am so much higher on them than I feel like a lot of people are. So I understand that not everyone agrees with this, but I still think that, like, saying the MCU, like, is never going to recap. I think that's so short-sighted when... First of all, we're not fully resetting. I know that. Clearly, we're doing some sort of time jump. We're changing, yes, and we're changing the direction. But I think saying that we can never get back when the X-Men arguably have the best stories that Marvel has ever told, and that is what we are gearing up for, and we haven't even given them a chance other than Jean Grey in this movie to see what that looks like. I think that's just so irresponsibly short-sighted, personally.
Let me
Okay.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Let me define. I don't think I ever really defined. By Marvel fell off, I mean overall quality of Marvel went from like here, like on a chart like about this big, it went from like here down to here. Or not that far, but the quality definitely dipped down quite a bit to the point where I don't trust Marvel anymore. That every project I'm going to at least enjoy. We had our stickers, sure, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Thor the Dark World, but those... It was like once in a while, and we've had more projects the last few years that have been worse. And by Marvel being back, I literally mean just to the point where, like, the last several projects, are all in my like top 20. Thunderbolts, Brand New Day, and Thunderbolts and Brand New Day are in my top 10. Brave New World is fine in my opinion. I think it's good. It's definitely got its issues, and then Fantastic Four is in like my top 20. By getting back to what I mean is it's getting back to a quality that I can trust them again, which I definitely feel. I feel pretty like we haven't seen anything Vision Quest. I think Vision Quest is going to be good. I trust Marvel again. And I like that's kind of like my entire point is that I don't think it would be great if we got back to the highs of Infinity War and Endgame again. I don't ever see that happening just because of how special and once in a lifetime that was. But to the point where I'm going to walk in and be like, I cannot wait to watch the latest Marvel project kind of a thing.
You can get close to getting back to where it was. But I think to further your logic of it being short-sighted, yeah, I guess. But even still... Once you kind of damage your long picture roadmap and you get yourself in a pretty sticky situation where this is what I've heard about like a big complaint for Doomsday. I don't fully agree with this. I love the Thunderbolts and I love Fantastic Four, but I get why some people would say this. Infinity War had a bunch of characters we care about. Doomsday has a few characters that people care about. And the rest of them are just kind of there and not everybody really cares about those characters. Even after the MCU, I use quotations, resets, because we don't know what that looks like, and we start introducing the X-Men, that's great. The X-Men could be 10 out of 10 films. It could be the best thing Marvel ever does. But you still have all these other characters that people don't really like all that much, and then you're just feeding into another big Avengers film with maybe like Avengers versus X-Men. I don't know. But you're starting over with your roadmap pretty much after Secret Wars. which is why they're doing the Mutant Saga. They've already said it's called the Mutant Saga. You're starting over with that roadmap. That's the point you can really start to show your colors, and that's when you can build to get back to where you truly were. But because of the damage you already did here, you can't really recapture the magic that you had all the way back there. I know you want to say that's short-sighted, but you cannot listen. You cannot argue with the fundamentals of that because that's so accurate.
I am going to argue with the fundamentals because I think I don't think they've done as much damage to their brand as you're saying they have. They've had some bad movies and bad projects. Echo is like one of the most useless and bad shows that I wish I didn't even have to finish. Black Widow is also not great. We've had some stinkers, I understand that, but I don't view any of those projects as like fundamental damage that cannot be like overcome. Like you're coming at this as if like Echo completely blew up entire Marvel and they can never come back from it. I don't. Cool, Echo was bad, move on, Brand New Day was amazing, Fantastic Four was amazing, Thought It was amazing. I only think about Echo when we talk about it. I don't even think about, like, it doesn't matter to me.
Sure.
I'm not talking about the individual films of themselves. Good, bad, doesn't matter. The original MCU had that. I'm talking about your entire start to finish story for what you're telling. After Endgame, or I guess technically it's after Far From Home, when you start with Phase 4, that is a whole new story that you were starting from the ground up to build and ramp up to something. And they have not done that as well in any capacity.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think I'm not disagreeing with you on this phase, but your argument isn't for just this phase. Your argument is for Marvel period, it seems. And I just can't agree with you on the Marvel period argument. But I think we're kind of getting off track, and especially since technically right now is when I had a hard out, but we have barely even talked about Brand New Day, so I'm willing to stay online a little longer, even though we're at like 3 fucking hours.
I think you're on your period is what you're on.
Yeah.
But shifting off and back onto what we're actually supposed to be talking about this episode with Brand New Day, Peak, I think getting back onto some of the highs, the first place that I really wanted to dive into and start with was really the Ned and MJ stuff. The Ned and MJ stuff, I think for everyone, pretty much, at least for a lot of us, was the biggest worry. How are they going to handle that? And we've already all said in our own way that we really like the way that they handled it. I think my only question, and I know I think Carson, you brought up the point about like, oh, maybe the reason Zendaya was crying was because that Jean implanted the. I don't think that's the case whatsoever. I don't think it's a terrible theory. I don't think that's the case. That's not at all what I thought. But I was sitting in the theater being like, damn, this is why you always say bros before hoes. Because Zendaya's like, I don't love you. You're terrible. You're horrible. All Tom has to do is dap up the homie, and he's like, I'm ride or die for you again. I'm like, that's why you gotta love the homies right there.
I want to add on. I think this version of MJ is the best MJ has ever been in live action. I am willing to stand on that and say that.
Are you saying her in this movie? Sorry to interrupt. Her in this movie, or her as Zendaya's MJ in the whole trilogy or quadrilogy or whatever?
I think both. I think we've built up to the point where I think she is the best MJ we have gotten. She is both a good person who understandably has motivations. You said something about how MJ was like, I hate you, like, I don't love you, yada yada. She wasn't like that. She was like, listen, I don't remember this life. I think you're a great person, but I don't know you. And
oh yeah,
of course,
I was over-exaggerating on that, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think because MJ is not, like, my number one thing whenever they kiss for the first time, as my brain is processing and trying to figure out what's going on, is MJ's cheating on her boyfriend. Oh no. I hate this trope. I hate that they do this, especially with their boyfriend.
I thought the same exact thing.
Yeah. My number one thing is that no matter how much I root for a character, I cannot root for a character if they are cheating on their significant other at the same time.
Completely agree.
And they do that in Marvel a lot. That is a very common trope, and I'm glad that that's not what happened. Of course, we don't get another mention of... He doesn't even have a name. He's just the boyfriend in the credits.
I really expected him to show up at least once more.
Mm-hmm. We get that, like we can clearly tell she is not happy in that relationship, which tees up for the next movie and how they're going to process that. I love the fact that this MJ does not willingly cheat on her boyfriend. That you can't count the kiss. She was being mind controlled. That's not her thing. And she's a good person, and she, like, immediately after they land, she could have just been like, I don't want to see you again, never mind. But then she extends the olive branch. Hey, do you want to go see Ned? They go see Ned. She doesn't spoil his secret, which is great. They talk, and you can tell, like, this is very, like, I don't know. I assume that they're going to make MJ remember everything next movie. I'd be surprised if they didn't. If they somehow don't, I would be very happy with that, because it allows them, because they clearly have a very solid foundation for a friendship, and I can totally see them building back up to that romance again. We're just gonna have to see what they do with her boyfriend in the next movie. I think that they handled it very, very well.
So here's the thought that I'm in. First off, MJ is the iconic. I would say that's your end goal when it comes to Peter Parker's love interest, even more than a Gwen Stacy. I think next film they're actually going.
Black Cat.
Speaking of Gwen Stacy, they're pivoting. I don't think Zendaya will probably be in the next movie. She might be in a cameo.
Really?
I think they're pivoting, and they're going to go with either like a Gwen Stacy or a Black Cat. I think that they'll rope MJ back in later. The only reason I'm confused, and this is actually another complaint, it's a minor one, I guess, but it's more so Marvel's problem at the end of the day. Because you didn't mention it, and I'm assuming, Brandon, it's either you forgot or you didn't realize. MJ's boyfriend is live-action Ezra Bridger.
Yeah. No, I know. I didn't see a reason to
yeah.
bring it up, but yeah, you're right.
I do. Why would you cast him in that role if you weren't going to use him in any
Carson,
So either he's coming back in some
we have this
role.
argument every goddamn episode. I don't give a shit what actor you cast in a role.
No, okay, so that, hey buddy, quit cutting me the fuck off, or I'm going to come over to your house. I'm going to absolutely decimate you.
I don't know what you want from me. I just don't care, and you're never going to make me care. I really don't.
Okay, let me say this. Marvel does not cast by accident. Except one role. Marvel does not cast by accident. There is a reason they cast him in that role, and if they didn't, okay, I'll chalk it up to something really stupid, and I guess unless he asked for an absurd amount of money, you really wasted a bunch of money if you're only going to have him in 5 seconds of one of your films. He is coming back at some point. I don't know what character he's playing.
He doesn't get named, yeah.
But he doesn't get named, which also makes me think that they're trying to save that as a reveal for whatever reason. But you don't cast that actor in a role that's fundamentally important to the Spider-Man characters and not at the very least set him up for something. But they also didn't do that in this film. Like, he wasn't even really used. So it's confusing to me. But I know at some point we're going to get an answer to that, because you don't just do that. Otherwise, honestly, I don't care. You can cast him in all you want. That's just a waste of Marvel's money, because I'm sure he asked for like $1 gazillion for one 5-second scene.
He's just Ezra, though. Like, he's not fucking Mark Hamill. He did one live action show, and mind you, wasn't even the main character in that live action show. Like, he was in a good few episodes, and he was really good in those episodes, but you're talking about him as if he's fucking Mark Hamill from Star Wars. He's not. He's he's not even the voice of Ezra. That's a different person.
Speaking of voice, leading to my second actor complaint in this film, and it's really just funny because I'm like, what the fuck did they do? But why was Keith David the voice of a YouTube video Spider in this? When he also like said things in the trailer and they hyped him up to be a big character, and then he just wasn't in the film.
I didn't pick up on that at all.
And he was,
I can totally.
I don't even think you really know who Keith David is.
I'm very well aware who Keith David is.
If they want to revisit that and make him into the God, I forgot his name. A very big character, kind of like an experimenter in the comics. Not Norman. He's like a big character. He experiments on mutants and stuff like that.
Striker.
I think he's a Spider-Man villain. I'm pretty sure. I just cannot remember for the life of me what his name is.
I'm running through the list in my head.
Trask or
he's like let me look.
Well, but while you look that up, like at the end of the day, I just don't have much to say on that because cast. He's not Mark Hamill. He's not a big actor. You're not casting an award. Like, he was live action Ezra. Good for him. Oh, he's only in 5 seconds of this movie. If they bring him back, cool. I'd love that. I think that'd be very interesting.
I don't
give a shit that you, like, can't bring myself to care because he wasn't a focus of this movie, and I never expected him to be a focus of this movie, and I didn't need him to be a focus of this movie.
Well,
so.
he's not. Well, you're not arguing that he's like not. Since he's not a big part of the movie, we shouldn't care. But it is a telltale sign that he could be a bigger part of the next movie because he is a talented actor that Marvel presumably wants to work with because he's been in two Disney projects at this point. Whenever they put a actor in a movie, usually they make the rounds. They do a Disney movie, they do a Marvel movie, they do a Star Wars movie. That happens with a lot of different actors, and I could totally see them doing that with him. He is a good actor from what I've heard.
No, he's a good actor. He's a good actor. And I'd be very happy if he came back. I think he would be a great. Obviously, I think
a foil to Peter. Yeah.
The only person that I could think of, and I hope they don't go this direction, but honestly, with what they did with Ned in this, I think it'd be the only other option. Is a lot of people speculated that they were going to set up Ned to be Hobgoblin in this movie. Maybe he ends up being Hobgoblin instead. I think that wouldn't really make a ton of sense. I know your face. I'm not saying it would make sense, but like a lot of people were like, oh, they're going to set up Ned to be Hobgoblin. I don't know about y'all. Walking away from this movie, if they made Ned Hobgoblin, I think that'd be like terrible. I think that'd make like no sense. You can't go with him being Hobgoblin after this.
Not for a few more movies at the very least. Like
we're not going to get a few more.
But
I think we're getting like maybe 6 movies at a time, and I think even 6 is a lot. So I don't think they have a lot of time to do that. So him being Hobgoblin, I think would be the only thing. My only point is, I understand where you're coming from, and I understand that yes, if you cast an actor that's recognizable in a role, it is typically a sign that they'll come back. I'm not disagreeing with you on those fundamentals. I'm just saying, and mainly because we've had this conversation before, I never care. Really could never bring myself to care when you cast an actor in a role and they're a big actor or they're a known actor and they don't have much to do in this movie or a movie, because I don't care about the actors, I care about the movie. And if you thought that if you thought the actor for Ezra was going to be the best person to cast in that 5 seconds, who am I to judge? Who am I to question? If they bring him back, they bring him back. If they don't, I'm not going to cry over spilled milk about it.
Then at that point, I feel bad for Johnny, whatever his name is, who missed out on the opportunity to play a small potatoes role. If a small potatoes role,
small potatoes.
I was waiting for one of us to make that reference.
Yeah.
Speaking of small potatoes, Yelena being in this movie, I didn't know about that. That was out of nowhere. I loved it, but I got
that spoiled for me.
It was fun. It was funny. Yeah.
I had the fact that her and Peter had a nude scene together spoiled for me. In fact.
Everybody, but like that, no, that's the crazy part. Everybody's getting leaked online. There is a Peter Yelena sex scene. I'm like, no. So that's clearly fake. This is close enough. No, I'll give it to the rumors. This is close enough.
I never heard sex.
Because I never would have thought
I never heard sex scene. I heard nude scene, and yeah, they're naked. Well, Peter has his underwear on. Yelena, there's no underwear on.
Starting with the start, like whenever we started with like Yelena in like the bathhouse scene, I was like, that is a very weird thing to do with someone who is a new Avenger. Like, that is her office. I was like, it kind of makes sense, but that's still weird. But the fact that they committed to the bit so hard, and even DeWolf went there and had a meeting with her in the bathhouse. First of all, that's super Yelena. Like, that makes sense. She's a goofball. She does stuff like that. But the fact they stuck with the bit makes it make sense in my mind, and I really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, I loved all the stuff with Yelena. She was absolutely hilarious, and I think it ties together everything so well, because here's the funny thing, and this has been such a like talking point with Doomsday, is everyone's like, how are they gonna defeat Doom? The new Avengers are barely wall level, and then it like cuts to the scene of all of them having to team up to push a single wall, which is a great point. But I think that is actually what makes all the Yelena stuff in this movie so hilarious, is because you can, at least to me, and maybe I read too much into this, you can kind of tell that she's being a little bit extra, like knowingly so, where she's like, we only deal with big potato things, like we don't deal with that small potato stuff, but like also kind of knowing that there's not much that they could even really do in certain situations. Like she's like kind of comedically building them up, to which to me fits Yelena's goofballness a lot, because she's building them up to be more when we all, even her, know that they're really not.
Yeah.
It's like I said last week. Thor comes in to the Avengers. Okay, what do you do? I shoot and punch. Great. What do you do? I shoot and punch. What do you do? I shoot and punch. What do you do? I shoot and punch. What do you do? Oh, I have a really super powered, like Superman level, catastrophic level. Great. Oh, that's great. Yeah, well, he's only activated when I'm evil. God! Why?
Yeah, I mean, with the Yelena stuff, I mean, Tony kind of made the same joke in Homecoming, where Peter's like, oh, so you guys could deal with this? And Tony's like, no, that's a little below our pay grade.
Yep.
Like, it's like kind of the same joke, like them telling Peter, hey, you're kind of on your own for this. And it, of course, like, sets up the thing that's like, Peter can't really get help from, like, the new Avengers, which, again, what do you do? And then it's like the one video of Jake Gyllenhaal going like this, like the flashlight or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and I think, because here's another thing, and I maybe I'm giving Marvel more credit than they're due on this, but it also answers a secondary thing that I think has been a big talking point in, admittedly, the entire MCU, is big potatoes thing happens in New York or in wherever, and only one hero is going to solve it, and everyone's always like, well, freaking Sentry is blowing up New York and Spider-Man's not involved, or like all the brand new day stuff or all the Daredevil Born Again stuff is happening and Spider-Man never gets involved. I think, well, obviously this only addresses like a single point of this. It doesn't like fix the problem, but I do like how I view this as Marvel cracking a joke against themselves, where it's like, why don't the new, we know they're based out of New York, why don't they get involved in this? You literally have scenes explaining why they don't get involved, but she still does play a role in like getting him information and steering the plot. So like, I loved the way that they did that, because it's kind of poking fun at themselves while answering fan criticisms at the same time, in a way.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I'm thinking we talked about the end credit scene, we talked about Ned, we talked about we talked about Jean a little bit. I don't know how much more you guys want to talk about with Jean.
I don't think we talked enough about Punisher in this movie.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. That's
Punisher,
a good shout.
I mean, there's also
Punisher
not much.
was
There's not much to talk about
perfectly.
Punisher. I was say he's comedic relief. Well, that's my fear coming into it, is because Punisher's a hard R character, and they've set that up over 10 years now to be a hard R character. So how do you translate into PG-13?
This
Pretty well,
like
actually.
this.
Make
Worked
him
really
dad.
well.
Yeah.
Honestly, gives me a little bit of hope for Deadpool when he comes in, or Wolverine when he comes in later, even though Wolverine already was in PG-13. It gives me a little bit of hope for what Marvel might be able to do with that. Works really well. Bernthal, I'm glad this might be... I love him in all the stuff that he does, but this is Bernthal's role. I think this will be his magnum opus. I think he's going to go down knowing that this is the best thing he will have done. No, really funny here.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie has to be, Frank, you are a street level character, and that is the whole. Oh shit!
That whole thing with him getting involved with the Hulk was just butt-gustingly hilarious. Like, I just like, Frank, you deal with mercenary. That's the Hulk, and even he has to go. Yeah, I'm out.
Like, Peter even asks him, she's like, are you sure? Do you really just want to avoid the Hulk? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's also one of those things of like, Frank, I know I'm the only one who can, like, I know you can't fight the Hulk, but I also know that I'm the only one who can, like, avoid the powers of Jean Grey at the moment. So, Frank, why don't you go handle Jean Grey? Just don't get it within 33 feet of her.
Immediately.
What do you mean?
Gets snuck up on, hey, Frank. Whoop. The way he walked whenever he was mind controlled too was so funny. He like walked so upright and just like moved. Like, it was so funny. They did it so good.
Oh, slight complaint, and I don't really care all that much. At the very end of the movie, Peter tries to compel to Jean Grey, be like, Jean, I know you're not a killer. Motherfucker, like 2 hours ago, she had a person walk in front of a car. He's actively dead. What do you mean you're not a killer? We saw her do it.
It's so funny, because I'm so glad you brought that up. I think that's the most irredeemable thing that she does the entire movie. It admittedly, like, everyone else is fine. Every other character that she takes over, for the most part, in my memory, maybe I'm forgetting, is mostly okay. No, that dude, even if he's not dead, that's an old dude who got hit by a car.
He's broken. Yeah.
Like, he might not be dead, but he might not walk again.
Also,
and, like...
I'm about to say, yeah.
The cinematography for every time she takes over someone, especially the one at the beginning where she's, like, moving from person to person as they keep getting stuck, is so well shot. I think it's incredible. And especially the acting, the way that their bodies are, like, physically contorting is so good. I love it.
Last thing I'll say on this movie before we start, wrapping up and
so
whatnot.
This movie,
yeah, I know. You could go for hours on this thing. In fact, we did. That is very true. The one thing I do want to say, just because I don't think, Brandon, you never really finished Daredevil, so you're not really gonna be able to maybe remember who this is. But there was something that was confirmed that I'm actually sad wasn't in this movie, because it not only would have connected everything really well, but it would have been a very nice surprise to explain why, after the doctors took off Peter's mask, Peter's just okay with,
the Rosario
being
Dawson
revealed.
scene with her. Yep.
Because it was supposed to be Claire Temple being the one to do it, and that's why Frank trusts this person. Why Frank's okay being there, because Claire knows Frank from all the times with Matt.
It would have been great if we had a shot of her or something at least.
I think that would have been a great way to wrap to kind of sum that up a little bit and but now we're left with the movie where that scene was cut and we just have to trust that the doctors aren't going to say anything. But what if a villain really wanted to go, harass the hospital?
Laws, I guess.
HIPAA.
You can.
HIPAA. Admittedly, I would have loved that scene. I agree. I think it would have tied. I've seen enough of Daredevil to know exactly who she is and the role she plays. Like, I've seen a lot of her character.
I've seen episode 2.
I agree that scene would have done a lot. I don't hate that it wasn't there. I do wish it was. It's kind of where I sit on that. Cool. And I think, again, people are like, well, now how are we going to know that they're not going to spill HIPAA's a thing? Like, they're going to torture the doctors and stuff like that. Yeah, but at the same time, like, I think there's, I don't know. I just don't, I think it's fine that doctors saw who he was and aren't going to say anything. And I think it just led to the funniest scene in the whole movie. Like, that Frank thing, I was doubled over laughing when we cut to him and he's doing the, like, Trump dance or whatever. And he's like, yeah.
Oh,
that was hilarious. I know you Carson, you want to wrap up, and admittedly I do as well, because we've gone way over my heart out, or my soft heart out, but...
Sorry, guys, I was sleepy.
No, you're good. Circling back, the last thing, really for me, is the Hulk, and it's the Hulk and the Inhibitor thing, which we've touched on a little bit, but I think, like, I think his inclusion in this movie is so good to make the MCU just feel like a living, breathing, connected world. But also, one, don't spoil it, and two, like, I don't know y'all's thoughts, but, like, stop ending the Hulk with, we're friends. Like, that, I don't know. I understand that, of course, that's the only way we could have ended this, because Peter is never going to beat the Hulk in a strength fight, especially Raging Hulk. But, like...
I think that's fine. I think there's a lot worse tropes that Marvel has been doing recently. Like, honestly, the final actual action set piece of Jean freezing everybody on the in, like, however many mile radius of New York, and having it be this and that, and she's holding somebody hostage. Like, that's a worse trope than the Hulk.
I mean, it's very reminiscent of Thunderbolts ending,
it.
In a way.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, we beat him with the power, but I mean, the Hulk. If that's how you calm the Hulk down, that's how you calm the Hulk down. And honestly, that wasn't the thing that made Hulk calm down. It wasn't, we're friends, you need to calm down. You actually you see that because Peter says that. Hulk calms down the second Banner looks at himself in the glass and he sees himself as the Hulk. And that's when it's able to kind of switch back over, calm down, and that's when it all kind of settles back down again. They actually establish that specifically because he looks at himself, because you think that that's how Banner remembers Peter, or that's how the Hulk does this or whatever. No, it was the Hulk looking at himself kind of like he's done all those movies ago when he sees the monster again. That he calms down.
I really
That's
like
what
the thing they do with where whenever Jean takes over Bruce's mind for the first time, she does not unleash Savage Hulk, like, by choice. She, like, puts him in Hulk form, but she's still controlling Banner's mind, so through that she's controlling Professor Hulk. Then he breaks out of it, and he's immediately like, she broke something. She broke something in me. Get out of here as fast as you can. Leave.
Yeah.
Don't let me hurt anybody. I think that was done very, very well, because it is a trope. Oh, just unleash the Savage Hulk whenever you need something done or whatever, and they've been doing it since Age of Ultron. I think it was handled the best I think it could have, and the fact that Jean did not willingly unleash it, that was just the Hulk. You know, he's been pent up since Infinity War, and now he's back, kind of a deal. Like kind of like the Hulk, how dare you put me away, kind of a thing. I really liked that.
But hey, guys, look, we've got a new Budapest with Staten Island.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Staten Island thing is the new Budapest thing. So
I'm
that's
gonna be
gonna
honest
nice.
with you, having not seen like the Punisher special or like the newest season of Daredevil Born Again, I full on thought that they were referring to I googled it afterwards. I full on thought they were referring to something that like happened in one of those projects. Nope. It's just you helped me out on Staten Island. You owe me one. We're never gonna find out what it was.
That was funny. That was funny
enough
though.
for all the hype about you need to rewatch all of Daredevil and all the shows and all that. No, you don't really have to do that here.
Well,
you could just watch it on its own.
I mean, I think that's smart, and I don't really have any complaints with that. Again, we already talked about it, but like Punisher's inclusion, him being the dad, him being funny, like this is how you do a PG-13 Punisher. It just
and this is honestly the way they use Punisher. This is how you use the MCU characters this is why this is my favorite of the Holland movies, purely because you have Tony Stark in the first one, but that it clearly feels like more of a grander MCU film than this one does. You have the Nick Fury and Mysterio and how it all connects back to Tony Stark and dealing with his death. Again, No Way Home was a multiversal film. This one feels like its own Spider-Man movie, but also they're using the characters in a way that doesn't really feel like, the way that Tony Stark did in previous years. I can't say enough about this film. I give it so many props. I have my problems with it. I know I'm not going to be the only one who says that, but also you're not going to be the only one who says your thing too. I think what everybody can agree on is, at the very least, this film is good.
Everybody loves this movie.
Yeah.
We're having a moment where everyone who may have fallen out of Marvel, everyone is coming together and being happy about a Marvel movie again, and that's such a great feeling, especially because Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four didn't do as well.
Until Doomsday.
That is
Doomsday, my friends.
But hey, we'll have a good 2 weeks.
My thing is, and this would be the last thing I say, because I do have to scarf down some food and leave. I hope Marvel, and I've said this before and they never do, so I have no faith that they will. But I'm going to say it anyway. I hope Marvel learns the lesson of why people love this movie. I hope they do. This is how you make your movies connected, emotional. Like that. This is how you make a connected universe feel connected without feeling overbearing, in my opinion. I think that, for me, is like my biggest compliment to this movie, other than like just Tom being amazing, is this is how you make a connected universe feel connected without it feeling overbearing and cameo heavy, where it all just feels so natural that all these characters are just interacting with each other. This is how I want like the X-Men universe and all of this to be going forward when it comes to making things feel like a connected universe without it being like, oh my god, I can't believe Tony Stark is in this movie. You're like, no, it makes sense that Yelena's in this movie. It makes sense that Punisher's in this movie. Like, it makes sense. It doesn't have to be a big deal, because it isn't. Fucking Frank lives in he lives in New York. It makes sense that that is what I want out of the MCU going forward. That's what I've wanted this whole time, and I feel like very few projects have really given that to me, and I think this project has done such an amazing job for me at doing that.
Marvel has heard your complaints, and they have one-upped you with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine and the original Howard the Duck actor for Spider-Man.
Still, he's 90.
For Spider-Man: The Quest for More Money.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Payday is the next movie.
There you go. Well, we'll leave it off on that note. I know we could probably talk about this movie for literal ages. It's 3
I'm
hours.
I'm gonna see if I can go see it tonight, man. I want to go back.
I'm seeing it again on Monday. All the showings are booked for me, so I had to go for Monday. But yeah, this has been a fun week. This has been a fun week. Next week, I already
Good
joked
week.
about it earlier, but next week is a very monumental episode for us. It's technically one of two monumental episodes. There will be a two-parter. Next week we have obviously House of the Dragon and X-Men 97, and we have Super Troopers 3, which cool. That's gonna be a lot of it's gonna be a very come down episode off of the 3-hour and 20-minute episode.
Sorry, guys. I unfortunately am not making an appearance. Michael will not return in next week's episode. It's
Michael
been fun
will
while
not
I've been
return.
Yeah, you need to edit it and have like an ending title card where it's Michael will not return next week.
But what I mean by that is next episode is the last probably ever episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast that will be filmed remotely. I officially move literally the day that the next episode will go up in post. I'll be actively driving back from Florida, or from DC to Florida. So we will be 100% in person from the week after next on. So look out for that. Very, very excited for that. Anything else anyone wants to say to leave us off?
Thanks for having me on, guys. It was fun. Hopefully,
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I don't know if I say I enjoyed being made fun of by another person, but I enjoyed the fact that you made fun of Carson. So I respect and love you for that.
Like I said, shit movie. Fuck
I'm
you,
gonna
Brandon.
clip
never,
only that.
never
Yeah.
have.
Well, this has been another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite, sometimes three favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I've been your host for today's episode. You can find us on all podcast hosting platforms: Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Music, literally anywhere you can find your podcast, you can watch or listen to us. You can find us on all social media platforms at Nerdy Nimrods and at Nerdy Nimrods Podcast, where you can get our reviews of other properties we don't talk about on the podcast and all of your favorite moments from the podcast. This has been this week. Next week will be next week. And as always, stay nerdy.